Here we go. I think we're going to
Okay.
find out. Hello, hello. Oh, yeah, we are live.
We are
We are
live.
live. No picture just yet, but we have an excellent connection. And oh,
Nice.
yeah, here we are.
Woo
We are
woo.
live, and it says we're
Robot.
starting soon. And wait.
Robot and the bear.
Okay.
Doodle and the bear. And the bear. Robot and the bear. Robot and the bear. Robot and the bear. Robot and the bear. 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 Robot and the bear. Robot and the bear.
I
With
missed
Eric
that song.
Nakamura and Luke Chu.
I missed that song.
I miss it too. I was thinking about it. It's like, we got to just do this. Just do it on Zoom.
Yeah,
It's
it's
always
easier.
fun. It's
It's easy. You know what?
easier.
The weirdest thing is, I went and tried all the microphones again.
Uh-huh.
They all work now. I bet I did clean everything. Maybe those dust or debris or something that was making it not work that day. But right now, I
Hmm.
got at least 3 microphones worked. I didn't wait. Did I try? No, I didn't try the fourth, but 3 work.
Hmm.
So yeah. Anyways,
Wait, who are we interviewing
we
that
had
were
we had trouble with Kelly Sucks's interview because one of the
ah
mic. It's like didn't touch it through the whole pandemic, and then all of a sudden you plug it in, it doesn't work. Anyway, so welcome everybody. We do have a few people that just trickled in right now, and we're
hey guys,
starting early. It's like a countdown for the giant robot
art bound.
art bound Asian popular culture and beyond. That was the
Yep.
original. What was it? That was a later subtitle for the magazine, or was it the early subtitle? I can't remember. There
Mm.
was we were called A Magazine for You or The Magazine for You, and
Yes.
then it became Asian Pop Culture and Beyond later. That was the
Oh.
subtitle underneath the giant robot.
Right. Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the beginning it was The Magazine for You. That's all it
Mm.
was. It was like what? It doesn't really make any sense, but it's all
Do
good.
you think that you became a little bit more specific over time?
Subject
Yes. Or
sub.
theme specific.
Oh, kind of, and I don't know. I'm not sure about what was the. I don't. It was like a kind of a blur, but I think it's almost like there's so much to do, and you couldn't quite get your hands on everything you wanted to do.
Right.
But I think ultimately the ideal is just make the best magazine you could,
Sure.
and then right like a few days before we're gonna print this magazine, we're thinking we look and go, is there a theme? And then we're like, no, but let's think of a theme. Let's make a theme out of
You've
this
had theme
theme.
ones. Like I think you had one that was like the adult entertainment
The
theme.
we did. That's issue 14. So yeah, that one was deliberate, but a lot of them were not deliberate. The themes
Mm.
came later, and we're just like, hey, there's a lot of music in this. I guess we're gonna try to do something. But
Well,
uh,
I guess I'm
issue
asking.
15, if issue 15 was music, but
Mhm.
yeah,
But like the I guess maybe it's because of the name. Maybe it's because when you like open like the first couple pages and you land on the top tens and the top fives and such, you look and everyone there is obviously Asian American, or
not always,
Asian or
not
Asian.
always.
Most of the time it was, and so it left that impression, at least to me at the time, an outsider, um, that like, oh, this is an Asian American magazine, and like the first issues where you had like Margaret Cho on the cover, or Jet Li on the cover, or Chun Yao Fat on the cover, like you know that that was obvious. I think the first issue that I got into was the one with Jumbo Machinders on the
Oh,
on the
that
cover.
was so you and Lofa. Lofa is a sexy beast who's in chat right now.
Yeah,
Uh, started with the same magazine,
that's a
same
great
issue,
issue.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think it's funny because for some, that was the point where they let go of the magazine. Some people quit right there. There's like,
Oh
okay,
really?
this, yeah, and some people quit there, and some people started there. And I think it's interesting how that kind of happened because that's sort of the end of the super crazy, and it just gets crazy. But the super crazy was the first 10, and I think that's at 11.
What was super crazy?
Super.
Like what made the magazine super crazy at the time?
I think it was just a little out of control. Didn't know what we're doing,
Mm.
really, and just kind of messing around with even the design. Just it was just like cram as much as you can. 11 starts where it gets looser. That's where there's a little less cramming. But then certain issues
Right.
later, there was a lot of cramming anyway. But uh, number 11 was a looser one. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. We do have some few people here in chat,
Hmm.
including Rachel Narens. Yes,
Oh, it's my
welcome,
girlfriend.
welcome.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, I knew that. That's why I gave her a shout out. She makes a very great daytime cake.
She's a great chef.
Very
She
memorable, very
is.
memorable.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think that's. I don't know if that was the question you were asking too about the subject matter or
Right. Well, I mean,
themes.
did you go in thinking I'm going to create a magazine for Asian Americans, or did you?
I love that. No, not at all, man. It was just for fun, right? Giant Robot was it was a zine at first, but it started off. It was just for fun. It was sort of like didn't really know what was going to happen, but I think I was very driven for sure, like hell bent on getting that first one done and making it as best as I could. A lot of content, right? The first issue was
Oh,
really,
there's so much. I can't
and
even
it's
read it.
tiny. It's tiny, but it's like a lot of content. And I think that was sort of the I just goal was that hey, if you're gonna pay $2 for this, it's got to be better than Time Magazine. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like I was like, Time Magazine, you guys are making this magazine. I want to make a zine that's as thick as your Time Magazine, but better. That's
I
kind of
would.
what I was thinking. Like right away, I was gearing toward like what can these big magazines, they have so much stuff in it. They have such a
Mhm.
big staff, and I'm like, I want to provide value and content
Mm.
for that. That was kind of part of it too, and it was just there was no attention on audience. It was just anything.
You need to digitize all those issues, and I think
I know, huh?
it would be great because then I could probably read issue 1, 2, and 3 because
Well,
the
I
the
have
text is
reprints.
so small and
Oh, I see. I see. I was like,
and tight,
okay.
and like because there's so much like content in there, and it's
I
just
think
like
there's some articles I think written in 7-point font maybe or something or literally
right.
I think so. Yeah, I'm not
Once
kidding.
you go
Yeah.
lower than 9 in print, it's like you're just
Yeah.
it's
See, those are
footnote
things
stuff.
it's stuff's out of control, man. We didn't quite know. I think the footnote stuff, I think that was in 5-point or something. I remember doing
Oh
some
my
footnotes.
god.
Yeah, they're at the very bottom. We actually did footnotes cuz thinking Giant Robot was kind of a source, and it's not like this academic journal, but the idea was it's kind of a source, Like I was thinking, there's research being done, and I wanted to provide the research because the whole thing
Mhm.
was, it was kind of like it's providing your sources and also turning people onto other things pre-internet, right?
Sure,
And I think the
sure.
idea is to say, hey, we're talking about this and put a footnote, and it's like, well, this is something that you could read more about over here, right? And it was like a
Mhm.
footnote. It was sort of like a hyperlink or whatever you want to call it, or hypertext, or it was like
Right.
that. But I think the idea was to provide that in a magazine, which other magazines didn't do that. But I think the idea was, yeah, we want to be a source. We want to be community. We want to reach people, give back, and all that kind of stuff that you would think about now. But I think at the time it was just go for it, and make a list of people and phone numbers that you can call and addresses of people you can write to.
Mm.
That was in the backs of some of those zines. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No,
Yeah.
it's great that you had that kind of foresight to think that, hey, people are going to, possibly be, compelled by this information and, you know, provide them with the source for, your content,
Yeah.
or the
That's kind of the
inspiration for
idea.
your content.
Yeah, and I see Nick Cha Kim is in chat. Just so you know, everybody who's listening, which is a bunch of you. Thankfully, Nick Cha Kim is from KCET, and he is part of the a big part of the reason why this all took place. And I think
Nick.
Nick should be joining us hopefully at like after the production's over at 10 maybe if you can join us, Nick. You did get an invite, but yeah, Nick is kind of part of the team who believed. That's kind of the part of it,
Mm,
right? Nick believed, and thankful.
yes.
Yeah, and I think he must have had a vision of what this would all be before I even thought this was possible. That's kind of cool.
Well, Nick, I'm going to plant the seed that you can mull over before 10 o'clock, and that is a 3 episode series on Giant Robot, because I kind of feel like there's a lot, that was kind of glossed over or missed, and concerning all of this, and I
I've
think
heard that,
people need to
I've heard
know.
that from a bunch of people too, including other documentary filmmakers said that, oh, this needs to be a series. And I was like, I have no idea what that looks like. It would take an amazing producer to figure that one out and how to make it all happen and wrangle it together. It would take Nick. I'm
It would
kidding.
take Nick to do this. Maybe we
Yeah.
we could use some of those giant robot resources for production costs and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
people,
Oh, you mean, oh, this would be a GoFundMe that can make it happen probably, and or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there would
yeah.
be like these amazing premiums, like a Luke Chu art piece.
What you could do is you could like get like all your art star friends to do doodles on fucking post-it notes, and those could be like parts of like certain kind of packages.
Post-it notes. What about paintings, my friend? Paintings. Let's shoot high. You're shooting for the lowest possible thing. We're gonna need, this is gonna take cash.
I'm not only I'm also
I'm that painting right behind you can go for say that could be one of the premiums. I see it right there. Yeah, thank you. A not so silent auction is what's being said. Yeah.
I'll think about it.
I'll think about it. Oh, all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe this is good enough. 60 minutes.
The post-it note was because post-it notes are part of the giant robot, like story.
As are large paintings. As are large paintings too. Anyways, okay. Anyways, yeah, that would be nice. I would be honored. But anyways, so that we'll cross that bridge. But you could. That's a question for Nick later. If Nick can join us at 10 o'clock or so.
Yes, Nick. Think
That'd be
about
nice.
it. I'm planting that seed. You have something to mull
Oh,
over.
and Nick just said he has a piece by you from the time he did a story on you.
Yep.
When you
from
Spectrum.
Yep.
See? Oh, interesting. There's connections here, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
I've met Nick. Gosh, 2 years ago. When I did my show at Corey Holford, and he showed up with a camera and did a very nice piece on me. I was it was great.
Awesome.
Nick is the best. Vote for Nick.
Vote for Nick. What? Vote for Nick, everybody.
Vote for Nick, guys.
Yeah, vote for Nick. What? He's running for something. What are you running for? Running for city council. We need you, Nick.
We need you, Nick. The city council. The city needs you.
Yeah, there you go. It's terrible. Putting you in harm's way. That's kind of what it is. Yeah.
With all the chaos that's happening now in Los Angeles, we need Nick.
Mm-hmm. I think Nick is going to provide the link to the Spectrum story for you or on you, maybe.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah.
Please.
So wait, we have. Let's see. Oh, it premieres. So Artbound Giant Robot premieres in 15 minutes on YouTube live, and I know there's people waiting, and we'll see how it goes. And I know it's going to show on. It's showing on.
We won't be streaming the video in this stream, but we can make a couple snarky comments.
Oh yeah, because I have it on a laptop right underneath here, so I can watch it. I don't want to put it on the screen. Who knows what kind of sound rights or whatever it is that can happen, and we can get flagged.
Yeah.
So it's better we don't. I don't know.
No,
it's all good.
So was it Friday?
Yeah.
Last Friday we got a chance to get a sneak peek on it, and it was great. It made one of the your friends cry.
You kind of didn't. So actually, Daniel Wu definitely started, like, he was tearing up. His voice cracked a lot.
He was very moved by the.
So people couldn't tell, because I don't know why people couldn't tell. James Jean did too, actually, and a lot of people didn't notice. But I'm sitting right next to him, and I'm like, oh my god, he's like starting to he's welling up too.
Wow,
actually, I don't know if you knew that. A lot of people didn't notice, but he sat next to me, and I'm like, oh my, that's where I was. I said I was mortified by this, because even James was doing it. And I'm like, James, you're doing that? And the director Dylan Robertson also, and it was just a lot of people said they teared up. Even people who watched it alone or seen it alone, just like they teared up. I've heard that from a couple of people who got to see this already. So
See,
really
this is.
crazy.
It would have been great if I was interviewed because right when
You
they
were
showed
interviewed.
no, well, I was interviewed in the store, but they were supposed
Oh.
to do an interview with me at the studio,
Oh.
and the timing just didn't work out. I
Oh, there
think
was
I
a lot
fucked
of
up,
No, you
and
didn't.
and then there could have. This is when the comedic break could have happened when they showed the final issue of Giant Robot, and then they could have just cut to me saying, "Yeah, I killed the magazine," which is something I like.
I agree. I agree.
And it was either
I
me
agree.
or
But
freaking Lincoln Park.
but we but we talk about that too. I think it's like it was just that issue was actually I forgot that it was less pages.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it was less pages.
A little bit. It was one signature less, so I think we saved a little bit of money to print that one. Yeah, bummer. It was I think it was the thinnest, technically, the thinnest issue since like maybe issue.
But it was still
2.
a smart bound issue. Like it wasn't a
perfect
saddle
bind,
stapled,
Yeah, but I think that's just really funny. I think it's the thinnest one since issue 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And for like what, like the first like 15 or so issues, it was still saddle stapled.
Yeah, but I think they were more pages maybe than 72, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though. I've already forgot, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
that was the hookups had already taken off by then, right?
Yeah, the hookups was a advertiser for I don't know, maybe 60 issues perhaps or something like that.
Yeah,
like something really long. I think they advertised from issue 4 all the way to a long time, and really amazing. And that's Jeremy Klein, who he's an interesting character, but I think he just had he just kind of was he liked Asian pop culture. That's it.
No, it was something I felt like you could always depend on. You could always
I think the
depend
one
on.
I remember.
Actually, I think you even wrote something about it. I think you even wrote about hookups not being on the back cover, like in the magazine on the issue that like they
we might have. But interesting thing is, I remember I asked him like Jeremy Klein is some people like him, some hate him because he's kind of he's nutty. He's an Orange County person. I could say that, but put it this way, he was one of the best street skaters at that time, right? Maybe the early 90s. He was one of the best street skaters doing crazy tricks like in 92, 91. He, instead of like listening to hip hop or like hard rock, he was into shoegaze music.
Really?
He was like, he's a shoegaze fan. And he would tell me he would just ask me these questions because he knew I liked shoegaze at the time. And he said Cocteau Twins. He just loved the Cocteau Twins to no end. And he said, every other band that sounds anything like them, they're just not as good. Like he would just keep saying that. And then,
wow, so much hate in this man's heart.
Well, he heard Lush and would say they're just not as good as the Cocteau Twins. Like he was.
They're not the Cocteau Twins. That's the thing. Lush is Lush.
But he was a different. He was a different. Yeah, but he was a different kind of guy. When it comes down to it, he in a different world. So everything about what he was into was completely not skater kind of thing, except Giant Robot. Giant Robot fit his whole vibe, except he was an Orange County kind of Orange County dude. Very Huntington Beach.
Before it was Weebin.
Okay, I didn't say that, but yes, yes.
That was interesting. They had you walking through Anime Expo too.
Yeah, I like Anime Expo.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying you didn't. I just thought it was kind of interesting because like the anime aspect of or even the weeb kind of.
I was weebing.
No, I'm just saying the magazine, like it always kind of felt. I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about this later on, but like, I was going to say that like the one thing that I always kind of that specific issue, the Jumbo Machinery issue.
Oh, number 11.
Yeah, it had. Didn't that also have the Kogal article in it?
I think it did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it did.
And that was the one. That was the first time I kind of realized that, Asian culture within that culture has subcultures.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to bring in somebody. Let's see if this works. Let's see if it. Dylan.
Oh, it's the director.
I don't know if you are. Can you hear us, Dylan?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Everybody, this is Dylan Robertson. Uh,
Hi, Dylan.
Hey, how's it
awesome,
going?
man. Nice. Nice. Are you in your uncle's den? Where are you?
Yeah, I feel wood paneling is going to feature really prominently in this episode of
I'll be
Giant
right back.
Robot.
Okay.
So yes, we've got our wood paneling 70s den action going on here.
I think before this starts, I wanted to just say thank you so much. I think even at the panel discussion on Friday, I was trying to say thank you, and I couldn't answer any questions until I said thank you, like over and over and over, and show my appreciation. And by the time I finished all that, I couldn't even remember the question. And that's what I felt like. And then I really couldn't answer any more questions. And I only felt like saying thank you over and over and over the rest of that evening. Honestly, that's kind of what it felt like. So if you notice, or if anyone recorded it, I don't think I really answered any of the questions that were asked. I think I just ignored it all. I was like, I can't answer these questions. I have to express more gratitude first. That's what it felt like.
Well, I'm going to be really now. I can't answer questions because I feel overwhelmed with gratitude. I mean, just being able to tell the story and work on it with a huge team, it's a lot of responsibility. You guys changed so many of our lives. And like I said, I still remember the day I picked up that first issue of Giant Robot magazine. Our house is littered with art from the gallery. And, to be able to tell the stories, pretty rad.
So in the beginning, when I met you before we started filming anything, I think you said that you were at these art shows and you were at this place, and I was there. You said that, and I was thinking, no, you weren't, man. I was thinking, no, you weren't. I was like, oh, this is how you're gonna get like more information from me or something. I was thinking that. I was like, you weren't there. Yeah, you weren't, because every time there was an event, you're like, I was there, and I was like, no, you weren't, man. And then you showed me a picture in front of GR2 when we did a Cozy and Dan show. I'm sorry, at Giant Robot store in 2001 or 2, right? 2002 maybe. And there's a picture of Dylan 21 years ago wearing a polo shirt, maybe of some sort, maybe a Fred Perry. I'm not sure.
It's a prison shirt. It's actually an LA.
Oh, really? Wow.
Shirt.
Oh, I couldn't tell. I thought it was a polo, and you're drinking a beer. And I was like, you were there. Like, you were there through everything. This guy was there from everything. And I was just like, wow. I think you're too tall. I just probably only saw up to your neck anyway. But yeah, this dude's tall.
I was a lurker, apparently. And that was back when photography, you get a roll of pictures back and you're all excited to see them. And then like the first pictures, like, people are their eyes are closed, and the second picture. Yeah, going through that archive was incredible. It was amazing. So yeah, that does not make it in the film. They do not look good at all. I thought it was gonna be a cameo, but no. So but yeah, I was there for a lot of it, and had been lurking, stalking for 20 years to make a doc. And shouts out to Nick, who hopefully will join this podcast or is listening in, but at Artbound.
Awesome.
Originally he's like, we're talking about this season. I said, I'm going to pitch you 2 words and we're going to do a show. And and usually most people are like, no. And I was like, Giant Robot. And he's like, that's really good. And so, yeah, that's where it started.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, this guy pitched it, and it was just amazing. I was touched by that. But I think one of the things that I think maybe, I mean, with a film like this, I know that this is for KCET, not the biggest budget. You also started this year. I don't remember. Was it April or May, or even like maybe most of the shooting took place in the summer?
Yeah.
And here it is, just the end of the summer. It's crazy. It's done.
Yeah, this is fast. I mean, a lot of documentaries take years to develop, years to shoot, post-production. We were, start to finish, March to October. It was a sprint the whole way through. So,
yeah, but I mean, this is how Giant Robot was made, though. It's the same thing. No budget, no time. But still, nobody knows the difference. Everyone thinks it's high budget, and we have like unlimited staff and unlimited money, unlimited time. And that's how every issue of Giant Robot was made. It was the same thing. And so this doc, the way you did it, makes all the sense in the world to me. That it's just like, this is like exactly how it should be.
we would say that to interviewees. And first off, our apologies to the many people who aren't in it, because part of that time was
Luke, right here. You mean Luke? Oh,
my apology. We have
I
great
make an
bites.
appearance.
Yeah, and we had a bite from you that was in towards the very end. So my apologies, but
No.
we couldn't get everyone in. I mean, hundreds of people have been written artists, but also just schedules. But yeah, we wanted that sort of punk rock feel, so we would just find places on the street and have that feeling like it would just be there. And I remember Dave Cho's interview, we decided to just shoot downtown in a street corner, and he's literally telling an emotional story, and you can see part of a truck if you watch the film pull up. That is a sewage truck that is pulling up to clean out the sewage right behind us. So yeah, we had to pause that interview. But everyone kept saying, oh yeah, this feels like Giant Robot. And we didn't know if that was a compliment or not, but we definitely want that vibe.
Well, I think this the premiere of this is going to start in 2 minutes. So I have it open on a window on my laptop. And I don't know, I guess we can watch it, but also talk through it for those. I mean, some of the people have seen it, and if you are going to get annoyed by our commentaries, you could shut us down or turn us down and watch the show, right? But a lot of us have seen it. Luke's seen it. Obviously, you've seen it too many times, Dylan, but and some of you guys have seen it too. So we'll be here, though, and the whole idea is we'll chat through it. If you want to hear this version, you could always watch it again, too. But right now, yeah, it's going to start in a couple of minutes, which is crazy. This whole, this whole chase or this whole race, I guess, here it is. The finish line's right in front of you.
That's amazing.
How does that feel?
It feels really good. I'm sitting here with my wife. I'm about to have are you allowed to have glasses of wine on live stream?
Dude,
you can do whatever you want.
What's in here? it could be water. It could be pee-pee. It could be anything. I mean, it doesn't matter, man. Up to you. It's all good. It's this stream could be rated R+ if we want to. It doesn't matter.
I mean, Luke, you probably have a feeling like, I feel like Eric and Martin are the nicest and at the same time most intimidating people because of how cool they were, and to finally being part of the Giant Robot community.
Right. This is what we were talking about in the very beginning of the stream, how how intimidating they are. So much cool. And then and then
you meet us, and then when you get to know us, you're like, oh man, what was I intimidated by? Seriously. No.
Until you actually start an opinion on something, and then it comes out. It's interesting, how calm you are and nice you are, and then you'll have opinions about things, and you're like, oh, there it is, which is rad.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, wait, this stream's going to start shortly. Man, whoa. This is technically the world premiere on TV. And do you have somebody is your wife want to be on stream? Is that your wife or your kid?
That's my wife. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to have
Your wife is your height. That's crazy.
That's the powers of heel. She thanks you.
Oh, okay. I think she's 6'2" or something. You're 6'4" probably.
Yeah, I'm a tall, awkward dude.
Yeah, it's all good, man. All good. Wow. I don't know how this works. Premiere will begin shortly, and I don't know how it does it just turn? Do I need to refresh? Everyone's saying here.
Yeah, I've got the same window.
Yeah, okay. Right, it'll be all good, man. Either way, so happy. I'm thankful. I can't believe it's I don't know.
So did you guys film in that tiny storage room?
Darling held to that position?
Yeah.
Wait.
Not. That's because he never bothered to
that was
up.
packed with
Darling had the
stuff.
worst attendance.
I mean, we spent 3 days cleaning out
and resigned from
boxes
the Venice neighborhood
because we're all about authenticity in documentary. They're like, oh, you have to be there. You have to be there. And Eric was like, you don't want to film there. We're like, yeah, we'll do it.
Several years ago, I actually in my hunt for all the back issues that I didn't have, went digging through that. And that's it. I've got a 1 minute and 32-second countdown.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, for the premiere.
Luke, you and I are bonded because that was my backdoor way of getting back your shoes was to make the film.
Did you get everything that you were missing?
Oh, pretty much. And then I kept losing stuff because our whole I use them for shoes.
It's really loud.
Oh.
Is my sound too loud for the?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh wow! Oh, there's a countdown. Holy smokes! That's
Less
who
than a
did that
minute.
background crazy? Who did that crazy 80s? Oh, it changes.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat graphics right there. I don't know.
It's a
Sorry
YouTube
about
thing.
that.
I think all YouTube premieres are like this.
Oh really?
Nice.
Oh wow, that was loud. Yeah. Okay. No. Oh, this? Yeah, you
Yeah.
can close it.
I was shocked on how
Okay.
sparse it was in your video, because the times that I'd been there, it was insane.
Now most of that stuff is still in my garage because we pulled it out to film it, and I've yet to. Thanks for the doc, Eric. Here's all your stuff back.
Well, I did provide everything, full access, whatever it is. So you'll be seeing old video. I mean, I gave you a shoebox, literally a shoebox of video. I think tapes and cassettes or whatnot, and you used. I mean, I think you went through everything.
No,
Oh wow,
you were great.
5, 4. Do people normally not do that? 2, 1. Here we
it
are.
already started for me.
Oh, did it? Okay. Scary. We can talk through this too if we want to. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Here we are. Wow.
Yeah, I wish
Scary.
you could have gotten Barry McGee for the
I texted Barry
yeah.
McGee today, but he declined. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it looks
Wow.
really
You're
looks
gonna be-
great.
I think the
Everyone's going to be
background is
seeing the
me.
clean.
Oh
version.
wait, we're looking at a trailer. I was like, wait, am I watching the film? It's a trailer. I'm like, what is this?
So everyone's going to be watching the clean version. So because it's for PBS, we have to redact all of the swear words in the early issues. So a little
Oh.
Easter egg for the live stream, you'll see scratch outs and things
Oh, wow.
like that.
Wait, you had something like that during the screening if I
For the
recall.
on-camera swear words, but this is actually in the magazine itself. So you'll see a lot of it was colorful, that language.
Wow. If anybody wants them, go ahead and share this stream or share that stream, please. You know, if anyone's up for it, please share the stream. If you want.
Give that a
Anyway.
shot of LA.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Eric Stearns. It is not. It's on the it's on another channel, starting right now.
Yeah, it's on.
You can Google Giant Robot Artbound. It's on right now, just starting. See, here I go. I'm weaving.
Yeah, totally weaving. I thought it was funny that you guys showed a Avatar, the Last Airbender, because it's not really technically anime, but it is American and it's very influenced by anime. So, you know,
like to incite the anime friends, get them really.
this was
pissed off right at
the
beginning.
billboard was great. The thing, the transition from the like, nowadays, you have the everything everywhere all at once billboard, and then it goes to the 80s kind of thing. So
Wow, what happened to my hair?
I got a big applause. Like that, your hair, you weren't there. It got as much applause as like any moment. Like,
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, the long hair shot freaked people out. People like
Wow.
lost it in the including me. I was like, what?
I think I don't have very many photos of me with long hair, right? Did you went through a lot of photos. Did you find many? There's some, but
I would say a special shout out to Maz, our assistant editor, who went through all that VHS footage, and we basically had a mission of like, because there's like 2 years where Eric and Martin have long hair, and then they cut it off, and so we can't use any of the archival photos, and they kept talking about their long hair. So we're like, you have to find it, and it was a mission. And thank you, Maz, because he really went deep for that stuff. Yeah.
wow. Yeah, there was a lot of tapes.
Is this your footage, Eric?
No. This no. Oh, this was from a NBC Asia spot, I believe.
Oh.
This is the Swirlies. We're watching the Swirlies shoegaze band. See?
Oh.
I'm legit.
You are legit.
I feel bad. That was at the end. There was an edit there where, because we talk about punk and we don't have a big punk show, and I wish like there was some like swirling mosh. I'll give you all like the extras and the dirty inside.
But shoegaze to me is as punk is. It's just a different kind.
It's a sad punk.
Yeah. The swirlies are often put in like
There
top
it
10.
is. Oh my god. Love it. Every time I see it, still, like the second time, it was long-haired Eric.
I know, right?
Oh, long-haired Martin. There he is, right there.
Yeah,
Still is.
classic. Look at that.
I still have that jacket, by the way. Vintage tennis jackets. I don't know. Oh my God, there it is. That's the bass player of Mudhoney that was standing next to me.
Oh,
Yeah, that was no, Irvine, I think, the show. So yeah.
No, it was at UCLA. That one. That show is UCLA.
Yeah.
It was.
This guy's got an encyclopedic knowledge. It's amazing.
It's my life, man. I got to remember that.
But yeah, it was fun to film. This archival footage, setting up the early days was important to us, kind of given that perspective of, it's funny, we pressured Eric. How much of an outsider were you?
you couldn't have been that much of an outsider.
Oh, there are stories that hit the floor. There's even more outsider stories.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, see? I'm an outsider.
I guess I did a hair flip. That's what
great. How did you recreate that? Did you actually cut the magazine apart and put it, animate it like the assemblage of issue 1?
Dennis did the animation on that, and he did a great job on that one. He scanned it, cut it apart, kind of redid it, and put it together.
Oh, are those all bleeped out curse words?
Yep.
Oh wow. Jeez. I wrote that.
So is this what it was
I wrote that. I wrote that article, FYI. What was it like? No.
And is this what it was like? Like assembling issue 1s. Did you put them all together yourself, Eric?
A lot of people did. Like my mom even my mom did.
Nice.
Like literally, it was just dining table at my mother's parents' house, and circle the table and just hit the stapler at the end.
Wow. Did you own a Sal stapler?
Yeah.
Those used to be really expensive.
Not electric, manual.
Yeah, manual. Like
yeah.
Like
there's my old bed. That's my bedroom at my mom's house. Look at that phone.
I know. You have to explain to kids what a telephone is and what a magazine is.
Telephone had
so
cords
that's the
a long
room.
time ago.
That's the storage room. And
no. Oh, this is the storage room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm about like 1 or 2 seconds ahead of you.
Oh, it's okay. No worries.
Yeah, we went all night in that as well. Like Eric, we filmed like 6 hours. We had like 6 hours on that interview, and Eric could have done another 6. It was incredible.
Believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Oh man.
Issue 3.
That Asian girls are rad thing just keeps popping up at least twice, I think, in this documentary.
I know, it's a shout out.
It's fun.
That animation was done at my house. Yeah.
With the shrimp chips?
Yep, that's me. That's actually me eating the shrimps and drinking soda. Well, one of the things that we tried to figure out is like, so this is about.
Look at that. It even gives a shout out to another one of the films.
Yeah, the Love and Rockets guys.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Dylan.
No, that's more important.
Cambodia. Oh, this was great. The empty page thing. Like I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was ripping those out of as many as I could, but then maybe some of them I didn't. So that's one of the ones that still has it in there.
So tell me about this Margaret Cho interview space.
Oh yeah, so for people who know, she didn't want it. We asked her, but we were like, what is the most punk rock place you can be? And we wound up figuring out an answer that would be the bathroom at the Smell.
Oh.
So yes, Margaret Cho is being filmed at the bathroom at the Smell, and is so punk rock she doesn't even need you to know that that's where she is.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
This is a person that I never met until last Friday. And she did such a great job here.
Nancy? Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, the bathroom did not smell at the smell. It was actually
Really?
Yes.
They cleaned it up.
Oh yeah. Like maybe I shouldn't say that. I should be like, oh yeah, it was horrible, and like we survived. It was.
I mean, if you wanted, I could have just give me 5 minutes before you guys got there. I'll take care of that. If you know, it's within me.
I think every Asian American who was here in the 90s remembers that Time magazine.
You know what? I barely remember it, but my parents were not Time magazine subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably never seen it. Is my guess.
Actually, I don't think my parents were either, but I remember when it was like talked about on the news.
Oh, I see. I think that kind of eluded my whole family. It was already like that without the magazine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I was supposed to become I don't know what, a lawyer. I don't know, a doctor. Right. I'm supposed to be a doctor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I know. Didn't work out.
I think my parents quickly knew by like junior high that I was not going to be a doctor.
That was actually a thing that quickly became like a subtext in the beginning, but then we realized like it started about Giant Robot, but then we realized it was very much about counterculture kids whose parents put pressure on them, but then forged their own path. And again, it started with Nick, because Nick, the producer, told me the story with his parents. And then we decided to buy the magazine and the Time, and we'd cart all these magazines. Because the crazy thing about this doc is you're making a doc about something that people haven't seen in 20 years and haven't held, and it's not online. So yeah, we drag them out to like physically, and that's how we wound up with that thing with Daniel. It's my wife, by the way, Katie. So
hello,
welcome to the stream. Oh, actually, gosh, since she's here, I don't know if she could hear everything, but can you tell us about what did Dylan disappear for a few months? Because he got this whole production done, and it's kind of in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a while, and the way I would catch up seeing him is I would go in his edit studio in the garage, and after I put the kids down, and I would stay up for a few hours with him while he was putting edits together and music cues and stuff. So, that's
a few hours. You would actually hang out that long?
Well, that's how I'm usually a producer on most of his films, because
you are. I didn't know that.
I give all the notes. I'm his perspective when he's been like in it too long.
Awesome.
That's what I do.
That's why
one of our
Dylan. That's why it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she made the beginning better. Like she watched it and I thought it was done, and then she's like, "It's good, but the beginning's got to change." So
I actually said it.
Yeah.
Boring. Take the first 5 minutes, but then I'm in it from there. So you can do it. Let's go.
That's what you need in partners in life. Is like, I love you, but like that part sucks.
I was like, we didn't come this far to not have the beginning perfect. So work a little harder.
Awesome. My mind's blown. I didn't know this. I assume, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan, maybe next time she just can make it, and you can.
I'm just bossing around. Well, we've been together for 2 years. One of our first dates was at Giant Robot. I met Dylan when I was 21. So the reason why this doc is so special to us is because Giant Robot made me feel like art was for me. And I never felt like I could be in that scene or a collector. And we bought our first piece 20 years ago at that show. And that's when we started collecting art. So it's really meaningful to us on so many levels. So,
see, you really were there, Dylan.
yeah, we were both there.
We can get it's a Death Piece Son little piece, and then we got a Souther Salazar, and went on and on from there.
Wow, mind blown! Awesome,
giant robot opening doors.
Hating.
Yeah, we're ahead of them. I think we're watching.
We are. We're watching it on KCET.
Yeah. Oh, I see. We have it on YouTube. I'm sure they're seconds apart.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Margaret Chueh on right now.
Margaret Cho's on doing this American Girl one.
Oh yeah, that was good. It's interesting the article she wrote.
White guys that like Asian girls.
She's like, I get to write about whatever. I'm like, well, that's what you wrote. So it's she was really insightful.
She was. Yeah, her answers, and she's really good here.
Yeah.
Context-wise, really good. And her experiences, I forgot, like she actually lived all the stuff, all the stuff. She actually wrote it. So
that Transpathetic article, if you ever get a chance to read it, it is.
I remember it.
It's really frank. I mean, that guy basically, it's, we didn't really talk about that back in the day. And it's one of the amazing things about Giant Robot that you just pasted it right on the back cover of just how awful that photography session was.
Yeah. That was, the landing page. It's sort of like that last page sort of, it's supposed to leave you with something, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the way to end the magazine was like that. It's just like definitely an exclamation point,
Yeah.
We like those.
This was interesting. The skating at the what's the name of the location?
Yeah. So when you show this, you don't really say who's skating or anything. Was that intentional? I mean,
yeah, we eventually say
yeah.
It's Renee Tijime Pena's footage, but we don't cop to it in the beginning because we wanted to get you in the mood and make you feel like you're there. But she made a film about Skate Manzanar later.
Yeah, from reading the article,
Yeah.
After reading the article, she wanted to make a live video version. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to go. And then this was my roommate at the time. I
was wondering if it was you, Eric. I was like, I didn't know Eric skated.
It's left. I mean, I could do that. I could ride the skateboard like that. That's not. This is big wheel stuff, so it's like you're basically going in a straight line most of the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because it's dirt, right? It's kind of, I don't know. You can't do too much.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was a really interesting adventure. But yeah, Renee Tajima Pena's kind of captured this story really interestingly. And Mike Louie, that was his name, or that's his name. He contributed to the magazine a lot, and he was the one that went on this trip.
Yeah, she was amazing. Great interview.
I probably had to work.
Great interview. Super. She actually swears we cut it out. I wish we'd cut it in. She actually, because she's such a revered filmmaker, but she had this one line where she was like, "This reminds me of my third grade teacher and telling you, F you, this actually happened." And on a longer uncensored cut, I would have cut that in. But yeah, she ends, not to give it away, but she ends the film. She really had some really poetic things to say. She equated Giant Robot to jazz, which I thought was amazing. She was saying, Asian Americans, what is our thing? What is this thing that we haven't identified? And Giant Robot was that. And I was like, damn, that's an amazing comment.
Yeah. She's, she's a professor for that reason.
She sat behind me in the screening. I was terrified that she wasn't going to like it.
No, don't know, right? But yeah, it was really just amazing.
Texted Dylan a really nice text.
Yeah, she said, "Well done." So I was like,
yeah. Well, she's a filmmaker herself, a different kind, I guess, but still,
I mean, one of the legends.
Yeah, in Asian American land, definitely a legend.
In filmmaking, a legend.
That too. Yeah, that too. Really cool though. Super. Yeah, it's just that you took care of that part really well.
Thank you.
I think.
And Dan's music through it, Actually, one of my favorite cues coming up is right now over David Chueh in this whole introduction. Dan's music is incredible and just really unique and out there.
Yeah, well, that's him, man. He's going to be joining us at 10 o'clock. He'll be on this stream too.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a lot of guests at 10. After this is done, we have a list of folks who's going to be joining us. Daniel Wu, Adam Pfahler from Jawbreaker. Why not? Claudine Ko, one of the writers.
Oh, cool.
She's amazing.
She's going to be joining us. Is she amazing? No, she's amazing.
This is an inside joke that only cracks me and the editor up. There's a line that Martin says. He's like, "Oh, David Chueh, he loved Giant Robot and was looking for jobs. And the video we have of him is spray painting a wall." And we think that's hilarious. But I don't know if anyone else does. But
the Ride the Bus whales. Yeah. I love that. I'm glad that you guys put that in here. It's so good.
These are fun. Also, the montage images, because we had so many magazines. We were like, how the hell do we show that people did stuff and I mean, it's the word magazine. Filming a magazine for a documentary is hard. It's a 16:9, and then it's 4:5, but it's really 9:16. So we ended up doing some of these like where we just did these collages, and I felt like kind of came off well to kind of also give you this idea that, when you read a magazine, you kind of lose yourself. And so, yeah, we wanted this feeling like there was never an edge to the magazine, that you're just kind of like words are kind of coming from every angle,
I see. Yeah. Really cool.
It works.
And actually, Dave actually was really good in this documentary. I was just worried about, I was like, is he going to be good in this? But he was really good. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised. It's like, I just thought he'd be like cussing and, but he really put context to it. So also,
you guys were all there, you look at the images. He was what? He started drawing in issue 11 all the way out to the end.
I think it's 9.
It's not
9.
Yeah.
9. Yeah, issue 9. And he became a close friend of mine. Like we became really close. Hung out a lot. It was really great.
You guys all did. You see that,
But it was kind of the beginnings of this giant robot, whatever world or community, right? It just kind of was starting right there. It's interesting.
That's a great contrast right there. The Jane magazines and then the giant robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had there was another line we cut out where she talked about she worked for Jane magazine and she never saw Asian women. That was one of the things I really wanted to show, was just how different it was to see Asian American women. And I actually have a shout out to Giant Robot. Not only did you guys put Asian American women on, but the way you photograph them, like if you look at that Jenny Shimizu cover, like she's herself, like it's powerful, but it's fully realized. Actually, we did with Nancy Yoon, we actually did a semiotic analysis of it. Like she's looking back at you, like she's not an object. And it's the same thing you did with Maggie Chung. And it's a like the women on your magazine, it's really cool. Like it as a statement of representation.
Especially for the years that it was happening.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw down some semiotic analysis down on a live stream. That's what the people came here for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that you're here to talk about this, because it's an interesting perspective.
Wow. Look at that design, Luke. Damn. I was so good. No, I'm kidding.
I like the way the magazine looks and feels
all the way up to the end. It changed, but I mean, I was pointing at one of the sloppy ones. Those are mine.
They're great though. They have that energy and feel.
Yeah, they're out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. This was one of the harder sections to edit, just in terms of like getting that feel, like that crazy, because it had that kinetic energy. And also just getting everything in focus. Because they got depth to it, right? So if you film it and it just, the pages would pop up. But
yeah.
We wanted that feeling of like a real. That actually also happened because it actually took too long to scan. And the very first shot in the whole film of that actually was me just realizing it's faster to just throw stuff down and film it. So I started throwing issues down, and the feel of the suddenly we recorded like the sound of the magazine and the pages, and I was like, oh, like this is what a magazine is.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You're right though. I think that's a good way to put it, because it's like internet, you're sort of stuck on a page and you can keep going, but a magazine, you're flipping forward, backwards, like all different kinds of things like that. Looking at pictures, reading, then going back to looking at a photo, skipping to the back, going back to the front. I mean, magazines are kind of perfect for that, and actually faster than the internet in that way, right?
And that's what we had. Like, do you remember, Luke, back in the day? I feel like every issue you'd suddenly be like, like that fruits one. I remember, that's how we learned about Harajuku. That moment for me was like,
oh, yeah. No, that article specifically just blew me away. I actually went like later on and found a book on all on the fruit stuff and picked it up. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah,
very cool.
Like I said, Giant Robot kind of introduced me to Asian subcultures from Asia before they kind of like had an impact.
That picture. Oh, that photo. Lance Hahn's in the middle. Lance Hahn was a lead singer of J Church. a band. Basically, he was like one of us, like friends, all that stuff, part of the giant robot world, I guess, and we were part of his world. And he passed away. We were in Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. Martin and I were in Hawaii. What were we doing there? We're eating shave ice at Waiola, right? And then we get word that he passed away while we're eating shave ice in Hawaii, and we're just like, man, kind of a shock.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, this part, the Yolk and A magazine stuff.
Oh man, it's the best part. One of the best, I guess.
It kind of is. It's the fact that you got that guy who's coming up in a little bit.
Don't spoil it.
Oh man, this part was but a very crucial time where I think it's like hated it, and hated those magazines the whole time. And then here we are. It's just like one of those things that you talk about it, and it's like, no, it's going in print. Like we're, no holding back. No, just saying it behind closed doors. No talking shit behind people's backs, in their face. We're gonna publish it, and everyone's gonna see it. And it was like, here it is. This is the line in the sand. It's like you like them, you go over there, get away from here, type of thing, right? And instead, it was like, yeah, are you with us? You're with us, okay, right? It was kind of like that. It was that moment for it. It's like, sayonara, you guys are gone. Like, we hate you. Bye, right? That's kind of what it was. It's like, smell you later. And, that's kind of what it was. Oh.
And it was funny is like 30 years later, so, you go through your questions list and you're like, well, I can ask them about this article or that. And sometimes they'd be like, oh, I don't remember that article. Oh, and like both Eric and Martin immediately had visceral reactions, to this day. And so I'm like, all right, let's go, we're going to talk about it. And, kudos to Jeff for talking, because I think, most people, he threw you a really good soundbite to be in it and to talk about. Because
that was probably pre-written by a committee so he could make it in the documentary. Yeah.
No.
I would do the same thing.
Are those magazines? Those magazines aren't in production anymore, are they?
No, he went out of business, I think, in 2000. Kind of that first Y2K bubble.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Wendy is amazing. I mean, Wendy's amazing. Unsung hero part of maybe in Giant Robot entirely, I would say. I learned so much from Wendy. I mean, of course, the whole thing, but I learned more than... Wendy's right there on the screen.
Right there? Okay. She's the graphic designer.
Yeah, and she went to Art Center. I remember somebody said, hey, I know somebody that might might be good to help design. I think it was website stuff, but then... and I actually went for an interview and met her, and I just was like, whoa. She kind of explained everything, like how good or what it could become or what she would do. And I was like, oh, man, she has the vision. She has the understanding of how to handle text. And I was like, is there a next level? If there is, this is the person that's going to bring us to that next level for sure. Yeah, 100%. So Wendy's rad.
I remember that magazine when it came out, their font and then the orange, and because it was designed, but also had that energy. And it was like, yeah.
No, I learned so much from Wendy. My gosh, crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, definitely amazing.
Oh, look at that recreation. That's awesome.
Mogwai.
Yeah, Mogwai.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, look at that. Look at that design, man. Props to me. Oh, no.
It is crazy you went page by page. That's just not sustainable.
It was sustaining for a long time, though.
It was.
It sustained for a long time, But look at this. Go, Wendy.
No.
It's just like so many little details that you wouldn't even think about that are in there, just really cool. Yeah, awesome. But it is way more spacious. It like I said, if there was a next level, this was going to be it, and Wendy took us there.
That is great. The use of employing negative space and kind of going, look, we need to create space in the magazine.
Yeah.
kind of wish that you guys said a little bit more about the Art in America thing. But
Oh yeah.
I know. They actually had a moment in the room where they threw trash at it. They were like, yeah, because and if you open up not only the outside cover but the inside cover, they're identical as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it was, and they came out later, and it was one of those things where it's like, wait, exactly? Are you going to really copy that exact layout? And I remember Wendy was kind of offended, she was like, hey, this is too similar. It's too much of a coincidence,
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's kind of how you get treated sometimes if you're a smaller magazine. The big ones try to do that to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't you call them out in a following issue?
I don't remember. Probably. I mean, I had to, right? You have to. Literally, you have to. No, you can't get away with that kind of stuff, We can't get bullied by Art in America magazine.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever, yeah. Do they cover you, Luke? Have they written an article about you or anything?
Nope.
No, fuck them. Yeah.
Fuck them. Nope.
Gotcha.
Nope.
Gotcha.
Giant Robot, the only cover I've ever done.
Really? Is
Yep.
that true? Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Wow, the Murakami part.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars in art we're looking at, right? Very amazing.
This is actually the second project I've made with Murakami. I edited a half-hour doc about Murakami which was cool on the 2008 show. So which was super rad. But yeah, super grateful he decided he participated and let us tour around. It's amazing, by the way, just to let you know, like how much of a badass Eric is. That was opening day of his show, and like everybody's buzzing around, like all sorts of people, media, and like Eric just casually just sort of rolls up, in the car, and then like Murakami sees him, like clears the way, gives him a tour of the gallery. Eric was like a superstar. It was amazing to see. And, there were handlers, and they were really gracious. They're like, you've got other stuff. You have to get to your time. Like, this is your opening day. And like, he wanted to have Eric, see the entire show, and gave us extra time.
I know Eric will never say this, but I truly believe that Giant Robot Magazine was instrumental in introducing Takeshi Murakami's work to the normal people,
Yes,
which the work on its own merit should be able to do, but like Giant Robot, especially after the Super Flat show and stuff, just
I agree 100%.
Yeah, like I think I would credit Giant Robot Magazine for introducing me to like the Super Flat show, the Yoshitomo Nara stuff, the Takeshi Murakami stuff, which have all been very influential on me as an artist.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's also like how they handled themselves maybe, and making a lot of product, and just kind of maybe they had an avenue, or just they kind of carved a path a little bit. The path was there, but they just made it really evident, I think. Yeah.
I hear you, Luke. I also felt like what Giant Robot did for me is it suddenly put like music and film and, skate was all part of the orbit, but then suddenly art became a part of that mix.
It tied it all together. The Giant Robot brought all these like semi-divergent yet, quietly connected, parts, things, cultures, and into like one magazine, and said like, we could do fucking art, and we could do music, and we could do culture, and we could do whatever, the comics. We could like put contemporary art in one here, and later on in the magazine we'll have comic book art in there, and it's
it is weird to think in the 90s, like you couldn't even listen to two genres of music. Like, like that's how far we've come.
Yeah, you had to have your allegiances. Like, I am an all, I only watch 120 minutes on MTV. Blah blah blah.
I think it changed. Well, for example, like I remember if you're into hip hop, you're into hip hop. You couldn't like anything else and stuff like that. Everything was so segmented, and then it started to blend together a little bit. Maybe a little before we started, but it was starting to happen more and more.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing about Giant Robot is you just got to say, oh, I'm into Giant Robot, like, and people got that. It was like a shorthand, it just encapsulated all those things. You didn't have to be like, oh, I like anime and I like Hong Kong movies, and and I like this other artist. Like, yeah, I like Giant Robot, and
Yeah, I really like the fact that you got Jeff McFetrich in. I think it's just that he's very different from everybody else, kind of in his maybe his life circles, and all that kind of stuff. He's a very different dude, but
Wait,
really
so
cool.
are these like is a lot of that like artwork actually part of the Janum permanent collection? Because like it looks like there's like a storage kind of place, and they have that like neon sign, and the David Choes and the James Jeans. Like, is that like part of their permanent collection or something like that?
Yep,
Yes?
it's part of the collection, and we got them to pull it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
including
they have too.
the neon sign, the giant robot neon, that skateboard for Manzanar, that's in their collection actually.
Oh,
it's crazy. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. They loaned it to us for the shoot with Eric and Martin. It's in the background. That neon sign makes several appearances.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't know I gave that to them. I always think I'm going to take it back, and then I realize I guess it's not mine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always like, I kind of want it. I'm like, God, it would go good right up here in this room, but it's all good. Yeah.
Tried to get as much art as we could. There's so many artists that featured in the magazine, and we have like a 4-minute run. In like we tried to shove as much as we could into that one little section.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. Can't even begin to do it. That section, there's an uncut version that goes on a lot longer. We actually get into some other topics, which is cool. Yeah.
Some of I think you had some shots that I saw in here, and I'm like, I didn't know where they came from. Like, maybe, I don't know. There's some store stuff that I wasn't sure where it came from. Maybe you had archival footage.
Janum gave us some stuff too.
They had stuff?
Oh,
okay. Wow. I thought I saw some archival stuff, and I was kind of like, what is that? But it's cool.
Oh, Cozy Dan gave us some footage. And that might have been like that first show of Cozy and Dan.
Yeah.
Cozy and Dan had
Cozy and Dan, but there was video, and I was like, what is this video in the store? And it looked really, I was like, at first I thought, did you recreate this when I wasn't there or something? And you just kind of moved everything around and made the store look old or something? I didn't quite understand, but no.
We're not that good. Yeah, no, that was Janum footage. Yeah. It's weird how like the store, it looks the same, but a little different. Like if you know the store.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's totally different.
The super flat banner suddenly appears. And you see that.
Yeah.
Other DVDs also in the background.
Yeah.
If you look.
All this like recorded footage here, like archival recorded footage is great.
Yeah, like that's Cozy and Dan's video right there? Or what is that? That video?
I'm a little ahead of you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was like we're in an office, and there was like Cozy and Dan's in the office, and there's video rolling. What's that?
Oh, I think that might have been from
like
Pryor or something like that. Yeah.
He shot video. I saw that. I'm like, wow, okay, this is really old. There's Pryor right there in the background. That's Cozy and Dan. I think, yeah, you're at a different time. We're still at the Cozy and Dan part and looking at GR2, I guess.
That's cool. Pryor was not in the film, and my apologies. We did an interview, but again, a person who was probably a huge piece of the.
But he does live in Seattle. Maybe you couldn't get to him anyway, but it's all good.
We did a quick interview, but it was tricky to fit. It's hard to fit a lot of people in. We wanted people to sort of tell stories longer form.
Yeah. I think did you? I mean, you shot a lot of video. Did you realize how little everyone's clips were going to become when you shot it all?
Yeah. And so we kind of thought of like, if someone's going to be in, they'll sort of tell a little piece.
Right.
So like you see Jeff for a little bit, and he tells a piece of the story, and then they usually come in once or twice, again in other pieces in sort of a chorus.
But then when you're doing that, do you have like a list, like a shot list? Like someone's got to say this at some point. And how do you do that, or is that just on the fly and you unsort it?
You definitely script it out. So like who comes in at what part of the story, and so you want them to tell that piece, and then of course you ask them sort of broader questions. But yeah, usually there's like Claudine, she opens up with a story about Jenny Shimizu, so that's pretty much the part that she's going to talk about. And so But yeah,
like those photos. Those are just old photos that I had on a hard drive or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, they were GR2 stuff.
Oh yeah, and that again, Moss dug through it a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say they look so clean, but I mean that's digital photos, so.
Yeah. And then
it's like funny. So many friends are in these old photos. Like, you know, when I see the crowd shots, I just see all these people I know.
Dude, your shots are like party shots. They are party, because you go to art galleries and you know they're like nicely framed photos of, you know, and it's like over there, and like these photos, we're expecting those. It's just like people just everywhere. I brought it back. There were some fun openings. You know how to throw a party.
Yeah, we tried, or whatever. We did the best we could. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
James. Did that Jeff McFetridge line is like, to me, still resonates. I think about it every day. Actually, it was. Did we already say it? I don't know if you already did. He go through it.
He's not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, I don't have the volume up high. I can't really hear. But when I think about that.
James, he seems to be happy with the film because he talks about a double art-sider story, and you know, like when people tell us stories like that, you're like, I gotta put that in. But then you always wonder if they like regret telling that story. But he seemed happy with the film, and you know, and
James is really, he's been very, very supportive of this film. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised a little. You know,
he was really kind. Yeah, he was really kind with the interview and kind with what he said. And I like how he talks about. Again, he's somebody who talks about your role, and that was something that I didn't know. Like, because you know, you do a lot of research and you read a lot of articles, and so like, you don't know, but you have an idea. Like you go in, basically you write a thesis of like what you think you're going to find. And I think this next section about you nurturing artists was something that I didn't know at all. And Luke, you can probably talk about it, but the first time I heard it, it was during the Murakami interview. I was doing the audio, and Murakami was asking Eric about how he talks to the parents. And Eric's like, yeah, I convinced him to be artists. And it so blew me away that I was like, okay, like we have to investigate that further. And yeah, can you talk a little bit about like Eric's role, you know, as,
you know, I didn't like really like become like I don't know, like close to Eric until after the magazine had gone. And you know, as some people know, I was the last artist article in Giant Robot magazine. And so I think that, you know, but you know, the entire time, like I moved to Los Angeles in 2003, and I always kind of saw Eric as like he was instrumental in helping so many young artists, you know, come to like become full-fledged professional artists. Cozy and Dan, I mean, a lot of these people would have done it on, you know, by hook or by crook, you know, some way, one way or another. But like Cozy and Dan, Death Be Son, even David Cho, you know, James Jean was in the magazine. Like so many artists, you know, or Souther Salazar, etc. Like it's you know, he's I think Eric found ways of being able to support artists. You know, like my first, you know, museum show was through, you know, my only museum show is through, you know, with Eric and, you know, the Oakland Museum Giant Robot Show. And it's, yeah, I think that, here's that archival, the archives of Janum with that giant robot light. But yeah, no, Eric is, you know, I was always intimidated by Eric. Always. You know.
Oh man. Like, please don't be.
And it was like, you know, and because the way I imagine it, like at the time when the magazine going, especially, like Eric must have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of portfolios. You know, would you say, Eric?
A lot. Yeah. I've seen a lot.
Yeah. And I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be that, like, look, hey man, I'm an artist and I'm Asian. You know, like, come on, like, put me in your fucking magazine. I wanted to earn that.
Yeah.
You know. So So when I finally like got the opportunity, I was, I was, I was touched.
I don't think the beginning of that issue, making that last one, um, at the beginning of making it, I didn't know that was going to be the last one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
didn't know. And it just kind of somewhere near, I don't know, maybe almost finishing it is where it's kind of start to think this might be the last one. You know? Yeah. It was kind of like that. It wasn't,
based on what I heard
wasn't
on
planned.
this documentary. It sound like the walls are just caving in, like
Yeah,
all the way.
It was. I guess that's kind of what happened. It was kind of caving, but I still didn't know that was going to be the last one. You know what I mean? Until it was done and all that stuff, I didn't know.
Yes, this was a little tricky. How to manage like a rise story, but then have it fall. You know, because this is right before the magazine. You know, these Janum shows. Some of them are like right. It's kind of that's happening. This section as well. Shout out to Barry. I feel like when I listen to this section here, this is like it's pure music. So it's like Dan and Barry, the editor, who just killed himself. I mean, you talk about how he got here. Barry, the editor, worked 8 a.m. till midnight for about 30 weeks straight. And yeah, this section we gave it to him with a bunch of footage and was like, go have fun. And well, actually, I didn't give it to him. He just came up with it and, celebrated all your work. And so.
Yeah, it's really good. Good job, Barry.
It's great. This is one of the first scenes we cut was the art gallery and then into here. And then the fun quote that's coming up about you guys being Michael Jordan.
Like, that's really generous. Like, I see it's a comparison. I understand, but I mean, it's like, okay, I get it. Really cool. Wow, this is and all this video. Was this like my footage or whose footage was this?
Janum gave it to us there.
They didn't shoot all this though. I'm pretty sure. Did they? They did.
There's in the archives.
Oh, good for them. I'm glad. I thought we did too.
Some of it was your stuff. I think it was a combo.
Yeah. Okay. Really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. This part's interesting too. It's like you just composed a bunch of magazines and made that.
This is weirdly, like from a doc standpoint, that's one of the most difficult moments right there. Like you kind of are talking about nothing and everything at the same time. So it's always a hard, like, the sound bites are, I mean, well, be quiet. That's one of your favorite bites right there.
Oh, I think you're ahead of us by a little bit then.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It is I don't know. Something about it. I think about it all the time. You know?
Mm-hmm.
This. Ouch. Jeff McFetridge. Yeah. I don't know. Every time I like that line, I think about it like every day, actually.
What did he say? It was a little too, I don't
he just says it was the worst time to make a magazine, but it was the last time to make a magazine.
That's brutal.
And yeah, but I mean, it's easy to say a one-liner that's kind of like snappy and funny, but to have it really mean something and resonate like that actually is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I'm just like, whoa, I would have never thought of that because it was a bad time to make it, and we didn't know it was the last time. Not just for us, but for a lot of people, this was the end of magazines.
Yeah,
I think when Giant Robot was over, it was kind of like not just us. It was, I think the whole genre was crumbling.
Yeah,
literally. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's magazines out there today, but it's not like they're monthly or bi-monthly. They're they come out whenever they can, right? And they charge $12 or $20 for a magazine, and we were $5. That time was gone. That's crazy.
I know what you're talking about, like the archetype stuff.
Oh, that was but that's like once a year or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I'm talking about current magazines. They exist. They're just $20 or $30 or for one issue, and I'm like, whoa, we did that for $5, and 6 times a year. You know what I mean? It's like that era is sort of in an indie sense gone.
Yeah, with the era that you would learn everything through a magazine. You get all your culture as like a driver, not like this cool thing you put on your nightstand, you read a little bit and like a treasure, I like Surfer's Journal and I like these magazines, but like that thing that you got mass culture through, that we all depended on. Yeah, it's gone like the telegraph. It's weird, and how fast it ended. Like that was the other thing, like how big and important they were, and then boom, within a couple of years.
It was weird, right? And I think that all happened at the same time as this era, this 2008 kind of 2009 economic crash. But I think it's about the same time it all started. The magazine thing just totally ended, and it's one of those things that I don't think people talked about it. It just kind of happened, right? It was like, was that like on the news? Like magazines are having a hard time, blah blah blah. It's like, no, I don't think that was talked about. Was it?
Just kind of ended. Still thought the magazine was still going. Like I'd interview people, and they're like, "Wait, it's not going anymore."
Oh,
like,
that's crazy. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, it can't be I couldn't keep going. Oh, the Luke Chueh issue.
Yeah, that's when I bring the sadness. I bring it hard.
It's actually good from like a dramatic standpoint because they're all going like this, and we push out on it. So like, thank you, Luke, for having a cover that's like.
I thought it was a great because it was like I didn't realize any of the potential symbolism at the time, but it's like there's the giant rabbit, and then there's all the little things just clawing at it, and I thought it was ideal for.
Instead of giant robot, giant rabbit.
Yeah, something, or maybe the rabbit is a robot.
Very clever. Yeah, it's Luke's fault.
I killed the magazine, guys. I'm sorry.
Luke killed the magazine.
I killed the magazine. It was either me or Linkin Park.
No.
No,
I think it was you, man. It was not Joe Hahn from Linkin Park. No.
For one of the Biennales, I created a custom, a rusted, whatchamacallit, a Big Boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all these like tiny little giant robot magazines scattered at its feet.
Oh.
And I wrote on the inside of it, like, sorry for killing the magazine. For killing.
I think one thing that I guess some of you don't realize is that when the magazine was over, like around that time, Luke actually helped me out. And I'll always remember it fondly to figure out like, where's my place in, like, like let's say at a Comic-Con or what am I going to do? Like, you know what I mean? I think I just had lost my bearings a little bit. I was not sure. And he actually held my hand and helped organize an exhibition that went into our booth at Comic-Con. And it was custom figures. Cause I'm like, that's sort of not my thing. Like, I don't really, I missed the boat on it, I thought. And Luke held my hand and put me right into it by, organizing that kind of show. And people, that genre was hot at that moment. And Luke was big in that moment with that genre too. You know what I mean? Like that customizing thing. Mm-hmm. And he organized a custom show with a bunch of artists who I didn't know for the most part. Some I knew, but a lot of them I didn't know. And it was amazing. Like I was like, oh, this is like working. And I saw a light. I saw a light somewhere further down the road, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in there. Thank you, Luke. I'm going right there. And I did, right? And for a while that like kind of, I don't know, made me a better curator, I think, and made me better at what I do. And so I always remember that fondly. It's true.
I saved a giant robot.
Part of it is, yeah. Well, I was kind of broken for a little bit, I mean, I was a little bit broken. I mean, I just was like, okay,
I couldn't even imagine. Like,
yeah.
This is fun. This generational thing going on with the Lindas and Martin. Like,
yeah.
We always imagined like for this, there are people who know who she is and they'll kind of get it. But I wish that I was someone who didn't know who she was. And like, you just see him talking about his family, and then like, they start playing, and then she suddenly raised it. You're like, whoa, like, there's the whole generation of people who that's a surprise. And no, it's rad. It was cool.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's actually our house in that they're sitting at. We did the interview because Martin lived like 2 blocks away from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I had no idea. Yeah. This is old footage outside of the record store. Oh, there's my friend Susan. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dan was also in our house.
Cool. That shot maybe that I forgot the record. No Life Records. That's what it was called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's Pryor.
Yeah. Oh wait, are we near the end of this?
Yeah.
Get there.
Oh my gosh.
I know it goes so fast.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, wait, we're there? That was at Walker, that picture, the Walker Institute.
I loved those like photo assemblages. I always kind of felt like they were like always little nuggets of information that were,
and that one was handwritten on purpose, right? It was meant to look kind of kinetic, so it was all handwritten. The notes and stuff. Yeah. You're welcome. Well, I think I did that. I mean, that was my, yeah. Oh, I lost about 15 pounds since that shoot. I was trying to get as big as I could for your shoots. And then, I did. I think I'm about 15 pounds lighter, like normal weight. I'm normal where I should be, but I think there I wanted to be like Larry Flint. So I got to my heaviest weight in my life to be in those shoots.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the method.
Yeah, I went for it. No, I'm like 15 pounds lighter now. I'm not kidding.
I think I took that 15 pounds from you.
Take it. Yeah, it was,
This was amazing that you got this. Literally was 2 weeks. The Yeahs, Linda's, and Japanese Breakfast show was like 2 weeks before the premiere that you did last week.
We were in the middle of onlining, and I
was like, you need that shot at the Hollywood Bowl.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what.
Cut it in. I don't care if you're off.
and Nick produced it because we were like, oh, we'll be done way before then. And then we literally, we were done at 8 a.m. before the screening. It came really close to showing a rough cut.
This story is great. I've heard it coming. Eric had told me this story before, but to hear it from David is kind of amazing.
So that part, David originally said no to the interview.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he originally said no. And then we were like, why? I wanted to be part of it. And he said, everyone always asks me questions and I tell them stories and then they cut stuff out. And he's like, if I'm going to do it, he actually was really thoughtful, but that was one of those stories where I'm like, you can't leave this on the cutting room floor. It's too bananas. But when we cut it into the downfall, it didn't quite work. It kind of changed the energy of that section, And we're like, where are we going to put it? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to put it in the credits. We're just going to have an old school, outtake credits.
Actually, so I couldn't hear it now, and I didn't see it in any. I've never seen that before. So what did he say right there? Actually,
it was the.
I didn't get to see it either.
It was the gambling story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where you went to Vegas with your money.
Yeah.
You doubled.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us the story?
I don't think he didn't quite double it, but it was one of those things that, he got us. I was just like, you know what? Let's write it, and let's write it to the end. Let's see what happens. Need money. We need money. So, gave him cash, literally cash, and he came back with a bigger stack of cash. It was real. He did it. I don't know about double, but it was a lot. And it was one of those things that it was just like a worry. It's like, is this really happening? Is he really going to do this? But he said, hey, if I lose it, don't worry. I'm going to cover it anyway. Don't worry. And it was one of those things that I was like, okay, I got nothing to lose. And this guy has not lied to me before. Among all the crazy shit he's done, he doesn't lie. He never lied. So then he went ahead and he did it. And it was wild. It was like, oh my God, he came back with a bigger stack. And I even told my mom about this whole story, my mother, and she was like, wow, this kid. It's really crazy, what he does and how cool he is and cool meaning the pressure of that. He came back with a bigger stack of cash and it was just no big deal. And my mom was like, wow, the nerve and the coolness of being able to handle that responsibility. That's crazy. I didn't know that was what the ending was. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
He told that story because you had told me the story once.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it was a lot of money. He handed a big stack. Hey, wait, I got some people to admit. Is that okay to bring into the stream? All right, first we let's see how this works. Adam Pfahler. Adam Pfahler is the drummer of Jawbreaker. Let's see if his video comes up.
It's a comparison, I understand, but I mean, it's okay, I get it.
Hey, Adam, you're in. Let's see, Dan Automator should be in. Hey, welcome.
Whose footage was this?
Janum gave us there.
Wow. Welcome everybody. This is amazing. What's up, Dan? Hey, thanks first Dan, thanks so much for the music, man. Really great. Really great. Can you tell us about the music that you decided to make? I know that you kind of did some kind of a mash of ideas, right, to get that?
Wow.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I just,
This part's interesting too. It's like
took what Giant Robot represents to me in terms of the vibe and the music, and I had a sort of a idea of what I wanted in terms of types of music, and it was like a lot of I wanted like 8-bit blippy stuff, and I wanted like some kind of like punk stuff, but I didn't want to have guitars. I wanted to do it with keyboards and distortion for that. There you go. And then that's the palette.
So how does that work? Do you just kind of just go into your studio on the hill and just get to it, or how does that work? Is it just on a laptop somewhere? How do you do this?
It's a combo pack. I mean, I like regular studio work with it, and then I like to use actually iPad. I like to do stuff where I can just walk around and go outside and do it. But like, I was looking for a particular kind of a few particular kind of things, like the beats. I wanted them to be stiff, so they sort of had that punky stiff thing, much like the upbeat, records. And I wanted to have like groovy 8-bit kind of stuff, because 8-bit to me kind of reminds me of the whole like the Asian toys and stuff like that, and start there and then just go from there.
Awesome, man. If you ever bust any questions, go for it, Luke or Dylan, if you want to, if you got anything. But nonetheless, and I want to say first, Martin Wong's in the house right here.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Thanks for joining. And it's ironic, you guys. Well, not ironic. It's perfectly matched. Adam has a Jawbreaker shirt. Oh, I'm sorry. Martin has a Jawbreaker shirt, and Adam has a Giant Robot shirt. You could easily switch those shirts and, be in a great situation too. I guess I want to say first, since Adam was just in here just got in here. Man, can you tell me, like, you saw this documentary and you said you teared up. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I got really emotional. And it took me by surprise, but it really, just the scope of the whole story, the arc of that whole narrative. There was so much I remembered that it kind of reminded me of, and so I just had it was definitely like a little trip down memory lane. And I loved it. It was really at the point where Eloise comes along in the third act that really put it over, because it was sort of like she was kind of like the literal she's like the embodiment of what all that work begat. And I love that the romance was in there between Martin and Wendy, and so I just loved it. But yeah, it just took me back. It took me back to 30 years ago, playing in your backyard on Sawtell, and and everything that came after that, the magazine, and the stores, and the gallery, and then Martin and Wendy's wedding. And so yeah, I was very emotional, actually. And that's why, and I called you pretty quickly after that, and I was like, and it made me realize that, like, because this is still a living, breathing thing for you, because you're still doing the store and the gallery and everything. It probably wasn't maybe as intense for you, but like, how did you feel? Like, how did you feel when you first saw this piece?
I loved it. First off, personally, I loved it, and we could have Martin. You should answer this too when you get a chance. But I loved it. I had so much gratitude for Dylan Robertson, right there, the director, and I just couldn't believe what I saw. I think I was kind of in awe. I was like, wow, like I couldn't have. I think I could do everything all the time. Like, I feel like I could do every one of your jobs, everyone here, to some capacity. Maybe not so good, but whatever. I think I could do it. I that film, I was like, I couldn't have made that. Like I couldn't do it. You know, you give me all the parts, I couldn't do it. Impossible. And but as I told them before and earlier on the stream, not a lot of time, not a lot of budget, but you wouldn't know. And that's just what Giant Robot was. Same thing. Like nothing can stop us. You know, it didn't matter. And this was very much to me like how Giant Robot documentary should be, would be, is, and it's just exactly the way it would be done. But I couldn't do it on my best day, you know. But I loved it.
It's funny because I think just today and a couple days ago I talked to both Daniel and Adam about this movie, and like we were just like crying at each other pretty much because we were just really like emotional, and it was like this sense of closure, right? Like when the magazine ended, we didn't get to say goodbye. We never got to do anything like that. And Dylan's movie really, and the whole team, like all the work you did, it really gives us a sense of, I guess, kind of closure, right? Even though the magazine ran its course and it puts a bow on it and like it gives us an ending, because before it just kind of faded. And it was really awesome to see all these different pieces that you were able to put together and kind of make sense out of it, right? Because when you're living it, you're just trying to survive. And then when the magazine's done, you're like, now what? So you don't really have time to reflect or think back or wonder what you did or if it made a difference, right? You can kind of see like where it led you, the connections you made, how it provided this incredible wealth of experiences and friends and love and appreciation of culture, and how you got to grow like a lot of and promote like all this culture that you love so much. But you know, you never really think about if it did anything for anyone else. And I love that Adam mentioned Wendy and me getting married and Eloise, and because all I see is dudes here in this grid in front of me. And there were actually a lot of like women involved. And you know, yeah, it was two dudes, you know, oh hey, there we go.
There we go.
And right on cue.
Yeah, thank you.
I was waiting for the moment to hit admit, and here it was. So
yeah. So
otherwise she wasn't going to get in at all. No, I'm kidding.
So I just want to say thanks. Yeah, it was awesome to see this and really gratifying, because I don't think Eric, for sure, he doesn't think about it because he's busy like making art shows. And well, me,
Martin, I hope you don't. You know, you said you didn't get a chance to say goodbye, but I hope more than anything that this film helps you say hello to everybody again. And it's kind of amazing to see everybody in this group. This in many ways was a passion project for myself. I think Dylan told the story early on that he pitched it like in 2 words, and you know, I think my exact words were closer to, that's a really good effing idea, because I think we were both very, very influenced by what you guys put out, and that's what this was. I hope it's a hello. That's all.
Awesome. And Nick really, you know, stories like this get made. You know, part of the reason this story I feel like is important is, you know, we're in this era and we're talking about representation, and there's a lot of focus on directors and people in front of the camera, and that's crazy important. But one of the things that's often left talked about is producers, the back end, you know, who's running the media companies. And, you know, Claudine is here as a writer. And I always suddenly was like, wait, where's Eric and Martin? Aren't they running a media company? You know, and like, you know, having Nick champion this and being the producer and being somebody that we could work together on, you know, with everyone on the team was just so critical, because we could have really clear, you know, powerful conversations to get it done. And he really was a driver, and like it would not have gotten made without him. And, you know, with his insight, I mean, his story, the WizKids article comes out of a life story from Nick. So yeah.
Don't get me
thank you
on that Time magazine article. But it was great to see it included, and it was wonderful to hear everybody's like response to it. Like I think you brought it to pretty much everybody. You know, there was this plan to bring that article to everybody and to collect those stories, because everybody knows that issue. It was like the worst day of my life when that thing came out, but it was really funny to see it recontextualized all these years later, and to see it with our Gen X sort of perspective. One of the reasons why we wanted to work with Dylan is he knows what it's like to live without the internet, and how hard it is to get information on subcultures you might be interested, but your next door neighbor is not, right? He knows that world. He lived through it. We wanted to get this story told by somebody who knew that life before the internet. And Giant Robot was kind of like the internet in a way. It's like you saw what you wanted to see there, like things that you were interested in that, you know, not everybody else was. And you know, I think hats off to Dylan. Anyways, you know, this story was very much driven with an outsider's, you know, sort of perspective. And Dylan, I think you see yourself as an outsider, but you also know yourself in this giant robot world. But you're also like intimately, you know, you were very present and there during their formative years, and it was great to see. This was such a passion project for you.
I wish I knew Dylan then. Oh, sorry about that. I wish I knew Dylan then. You'd be right. You should have wrote articles for us. Where were you, man? Anyway,
well,
all right.
I'm heavily disagreeing. Yeah, good. It's super weird. Like everybody I've interviewed now is staring at me at once. So
Dylan, I just going back to that WizKids article, I was so shocked that you pulled that out during the interview. Because I was like, how does this white guy know about that? That was like the bane of our existence, right? And I have a story to tell that I think I told most of you at the premiere, which was like, my father passed away in March. My mom passed away 6 years ago. So in July, I was cleaning out the garage of my parents' house, and I found the fucking magazine in the garage. It was like 40 years old magazine, or 30-some-year-old magazine. They still had it. Like that was I was like, I'm never going to become these kids. And I went off to do my thing the way I wanted to do it. In the Giant Robot way, but my parents still had that magazine in the garage all this time. It was crazy.
That's so weird.
Asian parents don't throw anything away.
I love getting messages from Dylan every now and then. Like he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to order this flip side. I'm going to order this dirt. I'm going to order this time." Like you were just totally on eBay trying to find all the pieces for this.
Yeah, my wife would be like, "What's this bill?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's for $30 for a Flipside magazine." Or no, thank you all for, you know, sending stuff in and giving stuff. So we appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for reacting to the magazine and Nick sharing that story. I don't, you know, as a documentary filmmaker, when everyone tells something that's like raw and emotional, you're like, it feels really, I mean, Claudine, you know, as a writer, you're like, oh, somebody else must have that. You just like, you know, so yeah, I think we brought a bunch of articles to you too when we did your interview. You were one of the first shoots we did out at down by Janum.
Yeah, it was totally what's the word? Serendipitous, right? Because I happened to be, I flew myself out, you guys, right? And I happened to be flying back home like the first weekend or first week, maybe started production. And I think I stayed at my sister's house in Silver Lake. And my sister knows Nick. And so it was kind of funny when we were doing the recording, my like 7-year-old niece and nephew were like sitting cross-legged on the cement watching with my sister and my brother-in-law. So that was actually kind of amazing to have the little kids there.
Claudine, my dad totally remembers all your articles. And
yeah,
he was like, "Whoa, Claudine Coe is here," or in the movie. I can't believe it.
I was so excited when I got the email from Dylan. I was like, I've been waiting for this moment for decades. Like, seriously. I mean, I was like, one day, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was like, one day somebody's going to recognize, you know, the amazing like art project that Eric and Martin put together and all the kids who like helped out. And here we are. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, not kids anymore. Look at this grid. But I love at Janum how I can't remember if it was Nick or or maybe Dylan, who said, yeah, we're making a documentary about something that nobody will ever see. A magazine people can't pick up, you can't read. And we're going to tell people about this magazine that they just can never see, Yeah. It's not like a music documentary. We could go buy the record later or whatever.
Actually, I had an intern about maybe a year ago. I work at the New York Times now. I'm an editor. And I had an intern who emailed me, like reached out to me and wanted to introduce himself, because we're all working from home and working on video chats. And he's like, hey, I saw your name on like an invite and it sounded really familiar. And I realized you write for Giant Robot. And this kid's like 23 years old or something, he's 20-nothing years old. And he's like, I'm like, how did you hear about Giant Robot? And he's like, I don't know. I just went down like a rabbit hole one day on the internet and I like bought all these old issues. So I was like, that's amazing. So it is possible, Martin, like some of these, I don't know, was this documentary going to like up the price of all the value of all these old issues?
No.
I hope so. There's a whole shed of them in Eric's backyard. That would be great.
No, they're available. People get them sometimes. But I think for a while nobody wanted any copies of Giant Robot, any of the back issues. They're just sitting there forever. So, but yeah, I think by not having them for a while, people now want them. Does that make any sense? It was just kind of like maybe for 2 years we just like, nope, we're not selling any of these magazines.
Wait, let me get this straight. I'm just now understanding this. Are you telling me you have like boxes of old issues?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Everybody's nodding.
Back
Okay.
How far?
So, okay, because of this documentary, I was like, I better clean up a little bit. So, no, there's issues, a lot of them, tons. Yeah, I don't know.
Some aren't even boxed. They're like in twine, that plastic twine, and they're like cutting into the edges, making these grooves on the sides of them.
Yeah. So little by little, trying to get it together, and I think we just did an inventory of it, and some of them are in very bad condition, but it's all good. We have a bunch, and it's kind of neat to see. I don't know. I just kind of flip through them a little bit and take a look, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But I don't know. For me, it's kind of a mix because as much as there's all this fun and joy and all this stuff, I think it's always, for me, it's tethered with a little bit of pain and suffering and going and making it right. That's always still, for me, that's part of my memory of it is the good, but there's a lot of bad too. And, when I mix it all up, I wouldn't want to miss any of it. It's fine. The bad is just as good as the good parts. But yeah, so is the pain, it's all good. So in that way, I think it's kind of how I remember the magazine or feel it. You know what I mean?
I still have every issue on my bookshelf at home right now, but I've carried that stack with me from Hong Kong back to the Bay Area and now to Los Angeles. And it's still there. I still look at it every once in a while.
Wow.
So I wanted to clarify a couple of things. Well, first of all, Eric, the thing about pain, like, yes, like right now it's 1:19 in the morning where I am on the East Coast. And I remember I did this story for Eric and Martin about karaoke, and I went to this bar called Juno's, and it was sort of like a underground thing where they did the karaoke like way after hours. And I used to take a nap when I was reporting the story. I would take a nap so that I could go downtown at like 1:00 in the morning, so I could follow these guys as they sang karaoke until the birds started tweeting. The second point I wanted to say is I say in the documentary that we did it for free, but I will say that sometimes in the beginning, Eric would send me stickers or like a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, and that was like huge. Like that was like the best ever. And then eventually I think you started sending me like a check every once in a while for like $100, like
$2. Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, for like
that was a lot.
Like a year, like you're like, here's a check for $100. And I was like, great. And then when like in 2008, it wasn't just, obviously it was like a lot of industries, and I, was working professionally. Like that's how I got paid for big magazines. And I was working for the reason why I could write for Giant Robot for so little money was because I wrote for this Condé Nast magazine. I was a staff writer, and they folded in 2006. And so then I was like freelancing, and I remember starting at about end of 2008. Every magazine I wrote for, and I'd have like these big contracts with them. I'd write a story, I'd get a huge check, and then the magazine would literally fold. Like this all throughout 2008, 2009.
Wow.
So
You're
it was
the Black
pretty
Widow.
devastating.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't write. You shouldn't write for any magazines. They're gonna fold.
Not anymore. I mean, it seems kind of nuts.
Daniel, what were in Hong Kong for big parts of it during Giant Robot.
Yeah.
Did people even know Giant Robot magazine in Hong Kong?
so like Maggie Chung, of course, like LMF, Lazy Motherfucker, that rap group, Wing Shaw, basically like all the cool connected people knew what it was. And so that's why I was able to do a lot of those interviews, because like they kind of knew what the magazine was and they thought it was cool. And so that's what I was able to like connect with them on that. Right. And a lot of them became my really good friends. So like when Martin came to visit me and he interviewed LMF, I'd always wanted to meet them. So I tagged along as a translator. And then I became friends with them after that thing. They're like, hey, we did it in their band room. Remember that, Martin? And
they were totally smoking out and drinking non-alcoholic beer. Yeah.
You gave them a magazine and they started rolling a joint on the magazine while you were interviewing them. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then after the interview, they're like, hey, Daniel, come up anytime you want. And then I literally was there every single weekend for 2 years hanging out with those dudes. Right.
Smoking a lot of bowls, I guess.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, and then, we became really good friends with Prodip as a result, I remember. Because I would send him, because Giant Robot would get all the Barry McGee books, and he was like a Barry McGee freak.
Huge fan, yeah.
So I would send him books, and he'd send me art in return and toys and stuff.
Yeah.
And just a couple of years ago, he and Amy were in LA, and we all drove on a pilgrimage to Santa Barbara where Barry McGee had an art show, and we got to go with Prodip there. And that was really cool.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say all the mainstream people in Hong Kong knew about it, but it was like the similar people. It was like the sort of outsiders that were doing cool artsy stuff knew about the magazine as well.
Awesome. Yeah. It's such a weird, like, that's like another world for me. You know, I visited you in Hong Kong before too, but then just knowing that a product that you make can actually go somewhere that far and actually have a little bit of impact is pretty cool. Because to this day, if I go to Japan, I do meet people who knew Giant Robot magazine really well, and they're always like, you know, artists, designers, and they would all tell the same story that they went to a Tower Records there was a big deal, and they would always go get it there, and it's just weird. Sometimes I'm like, wow, they don't even speak English, but they bought Giant Robot and liked it that much. So weird.
Eric, didn't you say that like a lot of people in Japan thought that Japanese Americans and JAs were like really square and not cool? But Giant Robot might have made a little difference there.
Yeah, I've heard that more than once. That it was just like, oh, look at this guy comes here and speaks this broken ass Japanese like version, you know, not very good. And at the same time, you know, then I remember some of them told me that story that says, you know, this magazine's changing things. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that story. And maybe it's a wave of everything else that goes with it, because today it's totally different, right? It's influences are everywhere. I think that's changed a lot, but really cool. So awesome.
Well, you guys were tastemakers before there was actually that word, tastemakers.
I think influencers is the word you're looking for.
That's what it's called now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I think
it was called tastemakers.
Yeah. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, the word tastemakers was used.
Yeah.
Really weird. Really weird. Anyway, I don't know. So wait, I think Adam, at the same time, maybe Giant Robot closed stores. You had a video store.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that lasted longer than the Giant Robot stores out there, right?
Yeah, but this is what was so relatable about your story, is that right when 2008 hit and people started, you know, whatever, doing Netflix or streaming or on demand, it really affected our video store last weekend here in San Francisco. But we were we had lasted longer than like the Blockbuster and the Hollywood Video in our neighborhood, because we were sort of like a very well curated shop. but right when that happened, I remember when you came up because we did a pop-up shop at Lost Weekend for Giant Robot because you were kind of like cleaning house, you know.
I was like, I don't want to all this. There's too much stuff. Help me, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember going up there and cleaning out the store with you that one day, and it was heartbreaking. And yeah, we lasted like longer, but not, you know, that was definitely 2008 was like, you know, it was getting consequential, like shit was getting real, and you know, you start to have to lay people off and take less salary and stuff like that. So that was very, very relatable. But just being in a, you know, in a sort of an outdated kind of in outdated media, you know, that we were like the last of like you guys were the last of our kind, really.
Yeah.
Could you give us the name, Adam?
Oh, it was Lost Weekend Video.
I know that spot.
Yeah. Well, Dan's a San Francisco native right now, so you know that spot. You're in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Well, we used to go to that part of the Mission, and we'd go to Wendy's record store, Aquarius. We'd go to Lost Weekend, Epicenter when it was open. That was like such a great La Cumbre. Was that the burrito place that we'd go to? Muddy Waters. Is that's the coffee place in a J Church song?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to.
By the way, really nice to see a photo of Lance in the doc. That also that was really nice to see that.
Yeah, he'd be a person that'd be interviewed in this doc probably, you know, if he were around for sure.
Yeah,
and I think
I remember I knew Giant Robot made it when I went to a J Church show. It was at the Coop at UCLA. And they had like their shirts on the wall, and one of them ripped off the back cover of a Giant Robot magazine, and we ripped off that art from like a movie poster book or something. So that's when we became friends with Lance right then.
Yeah. I also like, I guess I wanted to bring up one thing is like we mentioned San Francisco, but also like Giant Robot New York. As I was working on Giant Robot New York, I would go to New York a bunch, and guess where I would get to stay? Sometimes at Dan Automator's place in New York.
That's how I know Daniel Wu.
Yeah, it's all connected a little bit, right? Daniel Wu had you could tell the story. You had broken your ankle.
Well,
foot?
that was I was
previous.
in New York. I was in New York doing like an acting workshop, and I was staying in this like 5th floor walk up, and I was like so tired of walking up and down the stairs. I was like, dude, this place sucks. And you texted back, and you're like, hey, you should stay at Dan the Automator's place. I'm like, I don't know him. He's like, just call him, text him and see what's up. And so then I texted, and he wasn't there, so I moved in. And then the day before he arrived, I broke my leg, and I ended up sitting on his sofa for 6 weeks. And Dan basically sat next to me the whole time and just hung out with me, and we became
rubbed his foot.
Friends. Yeah, foot massages every day.
By the way, did anyone notice how James just snuck out altogether?
He told me he's installing a show, I guess, in China right now, or he's not doing it, but he said he's directing this. They're installing an art show.
I was actually, right before I got on, I was recording the audio tour guide for his show in China.
Okay.
And so he just told me that there's something hectic happened and he has to get on FaceTime with him.
Yeah, because he's a perfectionist, so it has to be in his control anyway. So wait, Claudine, what are you working on these days? Because I lost touch with you for a long time, and this is a way to bring us back together. It's kind of cool.
I know, it's been like 15 years, seriously, right?
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in that long or something. It's been a very long time.
So I had, in 2008, I think the last time I reached out to you, and I think I actually reached out to you guys, and I was like, hey, can you guys pay me? Because everything was falling apart, and I had just started full-time freelancing, and I needed, like, I didn't have my, corporate job anymore. I needed to like make money. And I think we both we just stopped emailing each other. It was like, no, I don't think, and I think from 2008 to 2016, it was sort of like a downward spiral in the journalism industry. Like it was pretty bleak for many years. And I just freelance. I worked for like a ton of different publications, like sort of freelance writing, editing. And then in 2016, I started at the New York Times, and I'm still here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now I can put my fears of being a homeless woman on the Upper West Side a little bit further back. But yeah, I still come to California a lot. My family still lives in Orange County. I still see Betty a lot. So like, I know a ton of people. Like I know Eric. Well, I knew Eric through Giant Robot and the Jenny Shimizu issue. And, like in the documentary, I say that's when I wanted to write for Giant Robot. And I went to grad school with Betty, who Eric was good friends with from college, right? And I think that's how I first emailed you. I'm like, hey, I know Betty, can I write for you? And you're like, oh, I drink Betty's dirty bathwater. Sure, you can write for me. Yeah.
It was good, by the way. Amazing. Yeah. It was amazing.
That's how I met Dave Chueh. Like I was, like a nobody at the magazine at the Condé that I was working at. And one day my phone rang, and like my phone never rang at the office. And it was some guy saying, oh, you have a package in the messenger center. I'm like, that's so weird. Like nobody sends me anything. I like walk out into the hallway to where the messenger center is. And I see this kid with bleached blonde hair, this Asian kid with bleached blonde hair. And I look at him like, oh, this must be for me. And he's like, hey, I'm Dave Chueh. Eric Nakamura sent me. And then we were just friends ever after that.
Yeah, I'm one memory I have of you, Claudine, is you were writing an article, and we were getting near deadline, and I remember you just laid down on the floor in the office, and I was like, how is this going to get done? Do you remember that, Martin? I don't know. I just was like, she's just sleeping. We need this done. She's sleeping on the floor, like under the table.
And
yeah,
the floor wasn't super clean in that office either.
No.
So
I have blacked this memory out. I have no
Claudine is that awesome that she lays
I mean,
it
like
all
that's
out.
the thing. Like I had a day job as a writer, and then I was like writing on on the side. And so like like right now I'm on a job, like I'm in Florida in a hotel room because I'm reporting something, and I'm doing this for you guys. I still have a deadline that I didn't make at midnight. Like I'm an hour and a half late. And so after this talk, I got to make that deadline. And I might lay down on the floor here and black it out.
Wow. Yeah. One thing that's interesting is I'm like, you're technically a professional writer, right? Who, I mean, Martin too, I suppose, professional writers who were doing Giant Robot writing, which is completely different. But then what did you think about everyone else's writing aside from like maybe the interviews? Because like Daniel Wu wrote a lot of articles, and but this was like a little side hobby kind of a thing.
Well, Eric, like you were the first inspiration. Like the way that you conducted interviews was just so, just like I never read interviews like that before. And I really aspired to have like that kind of chemistry, like come out, and that type of just attitude in life, come out in the conversations and in the writing. And then of course, like Dave Chueh, my God, like, yeah, he was like this crazy artist kid. And then the first thing he wrote, you're like, holy shit, this guy's a poet. This guy is like amazing.
He was like an Asian Kerouac.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, Martin's face right now, awesome. That thing was 20,000 words that we turned into like 3,000 or 4,000 words. I'm right, Martin? I mean, that was like wordsmithing right there.
I believe it.
Credit goes to like myself or Martin or Martin on that one. We made him look good.
I remember reading that article, and I like talked to Martin right away. I'm like, who is this guy? What's going on? Like, this is a rock star right here. What's going on with this guy? It's so amazing.
Yeah, we felt like our job was to make our writers look good. And we had awesome writers. What can I say? And I think they were all stoked whenever issue came out, pretty much.
That's Martin being polite.
There's like ebonics and stuff written in David's writing. So we, some of that we did turn that into like things people understood.
We did have a eventually we came up with like an editorial guideline list, and it says, you know, don't cuss just to cuss. I remember we had one that was like no Don Kinglish, you know,
that was
trying
a good one.
to like make up big words to try to sound deep or super intelligent or something. It was pretty good, I thought.
And I think that the word nifty cannot be used ever in the magazine, right? The word nifty, no. That was like, I remember that. I think that might have been in there.
I remember Dylan asked me this question about, like, during my interview for the documentary, was my voice, the voice that I wrote in for Giant Robot, like the most authentic voice, you know, like was it truest to my own voice? And I would say no. I think that you know, at that point I'd written for so many different publications, and every magazine has a voice. And I was, you know, trying to write to like your Eric and Martin's voice. You know, it was, you know, not totally far away, but like I definitely cussed more in writing. Like I don't typically cuss when I write for most magazines that I get published in or publications. But there definitely was like a, you know, like, I'm going to say something sort of sexist, but I think I was pushing myself to be more masculine. Am I going to get like crushed for something?
I don't. I figured it was just you being you. I never thought of it that way, but okay.
I think, I mean, yes and no, but I definitely, you know, let myself, you know, I think for me, what was important writing a story for you guys was, you know, make sure it has a lot of interesting information, like it's packed full of information that you wouldn't read anywhere else. Like you're getting that, the facts and the reporting that other publications wouldn't publish or wouldn't ask that question, right?
Yeah, I think so. That was kind of, I think that was it. I mean, something like that. I think
you took great photos too. Like those Ian and Wong Kar-wai photos, those were awesome. Like so many.
I mean, that was like a dream come true. Like I remember meeting Maggie Chung, Wong Kar-wai, and Tony Leung in the lobby of the Mercer Hotel when they were promoting In the Mood for Love. And I was lined up to speak with Maggie and then Wong Kar-wai. And for some reason, I didn't get to interview Tony Leung, but he came in while I was sitting at the same table in the lobby with Wong Kar-wai. And I just remember I see him and he was so hot. Like he was wearing this all white suit and he's like a little guy, but I was like, Tony Leung is sex in a white suit. And he came over to where we were sitting and he was smoking a cigarette and he didn't have an ashtray at his table. And he leaned over me with the cigarette because my table had an ashtray, and he like, you know, tapped his cigarette and just like swooning.
Did you keep the ashes? Did you like palm them and take them home? Yeah.
No, I didn't do that. But
you know what's interesting is like you got them at the peak, and sometimes we had to wait for people to come back down to interview them because we're just like, you know, these dudes in a garage. I remember we waited so long to get, you know, certain actors that were like gods to us, and like we finally got Gong Li, but way later, you know. So I'm glad we got, you know, a lot of them at the peak as well.
I remember interviewing Ong Li, well, sort of being at a press junket or like a press roundtable with Ong Li and not being able to get a question in because there was this other guy like hogging the mic. But but on taking pictures, like that was so fun for me because I always, you know, I was like Eric, like, you know, we always had cameras around, right? Eric, you had a blog for a little bit, right? Where you would.
We all did. We all had blogs.
But before the blog, you had a blog or you had something where I just remember you had built something before there was like the official Giant Robot blog. And you came to New York this one time and you were taking pictures the entire time. Then you wrote notes about all of us.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And you were staying at Betty and Dylan's, remember?
Yeah, no, I remember that pretty well. That trip was kind of an important one. That was where I realized, Giant Robot store should open. There should be such thing. And it was on that trip for sure. And I remember one thing that was interesting is I was like, Claudine's pretty tough, because I remember it was really late at night, and I was like, whoa, you have to walk home. And we were it was just Lower East Side, but it was, I don't know if it was the same Lower East Side as it is today. And I was like, is this safe? And then you said, yeah, I walk in the middle of the street. That's where it's safe. And I was like, and then I see you out the window, and you're walking literally in the middle of the street. It's Grand Avenue, and it's kind of, but there's not many cars.
Grand
It's
Street,
really Grand Street, late at night, and you're walking right in the middle of the street. That's what you said you're going to do.
It was like East Broadway.
Yeah, but you said that's the
Grand
safest
Street.
place to be. And I was like, because if you're on the sidewalk, things can go wrong. So you walk right in the middle, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
That's
I
New
don't
York.
know
That's
who
New York.
that girl is, because
Yeah,
I don't do that anymore. But I can see why at the time, because I think it was pretty sketchy, and it was
Yeah.
probably 4 o'clock in the morning. And my thinking was, yeah, like you can get attacked on a sidewalk and pulled into like bushes, but if you walk in on the dividing line of the traffic, nobody is gonna mess with you. And at that point, like
It's
that
tough.
late, like there weren't a lot of cars. It wasn't like it was very hectic traffic.
But
No,
it was,
it's-
but it was, but it
safety
was
first.
sketchy.
It's like a
Safety
kung fu
first.
movie.
It's so funny. It's
where-
ironic, right? To me, I was like, this is safe.
No, it's like
Yeah.
a kung fu movie where they say the most dangerous place is the safest place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't mess around when you're like a 20-something girl in New York City, like walking home by yourself. Like it was a long walk. I lived in Soho, and they lived Lower East Side. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, is Eloise able to answer a question? I saw her for a moment.
Yeah, she's doing homework.
Oh, okay.
Let me-
I
she's
just
maybe-
I want to know what she thought about the documentary.
That mean-
and,
that means
and you.
yes.
Let me
That
let me
means
go
yes, you
look.
can
I'll go
absolutely-
find
Okay.
out.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Sorry about that. I thought she was right there. Anyway, well, there you go. Sorry about that. I just booted Martin for a moment, but yeah, he'll be right back, I guess. That's definitely cool. Anyway, so
That was actually one of our funnest moments with the film, was finding that footage from the Hollywood Bowl. I think somebody had asked maybe in the chat about it, because it was only just a few weeks ago,
yeah.
that moment, and to get it in the movie was
There's the golden
a
child.
particular
Yeah.
effort.
Oh. Eloise, what did you think of the film? And what did you think of Martin?
And Wendy.
It's,
And
it's
Wen- oh,
fun.
Wendy, for
It's-
sure.
Yeah.
It's cool to see. Yeah.
Was it weird?
I think it was cool. I don't know. I didn't really know much about the magazine, you know? So it was kind of cool to kind of see what it was all about.
What was it like to see the visuals of your mom and your dad when they were young, sitting there working? Was that weird?
So weird. So weird. I don't know. I'm not used to thinking of them in the context of what, like they're just people, you know. I'm just like, okay, it's my mom, it's my dad. They do like mom and dad stuff, but you know, it's cool thinking of them as like people
Romantic?
did do stuff. You know? I don't know.
Oh, but just think, they were rock stars before you were born too, you know?
But who's
Yeah.
the cooler rock star? Like, is Eloise cooler in 2022 than Martin in 1998?
No, it's not a contest.
But I think
Very diplomatic of you.
I think Wendy has you both beat, though, for sure. Is a contest. Wendy has you both beat. There you go.
There's room
Yeah.
for everybody, you guys.
Sure. Awesome.
That was one of my favorite parts of the film, though, when Eloise showed up, because I was like, in my head, I always thought that when the Linda Linda started, this is a culmination of Giant Robot in a different form, right?
Totally.
And to see her appear in the film and that Yeah concert, because I was there at that concert, and I was like chills the whole night, because you saw 3 generations of Asian American female power girls up there. And like I had tears in my eyes because I seen you. Well, I knew your parents before you were born. I remember when you were 2 years old in the back of the Volkswagen GTI or Volkswagen Golf, and I was sitting next to Martin, and Martin goes, "Hey, Eloise, rock, 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 rock. And you're like, rock and roll high school as a 2-year-old, right? And I was like, wow, Martin's like all this knowledge that is going into her now. What's that going to be like? And then now that you are a rock star and I see it, it's like so amazing. And like I'm kind of tearing up right now thinking about it. But seeing you in the documentary really, you know, formed that really strongly for me, and I got really emotional seeing that too that night as well.
Oh,
the golden child,
wow.
I said.
Yeah, really cool.
They
do you have any questions?
They were really generous. We actually went to a punk show together that didn't make it into a film. That was actually the first time. Was it the first time we filmed with Martin? But
we saw the circle jerks in 7 seconds, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fun. At the Palladium? Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Dan, are you still with us, Dan?
Yeah, I'm here.
So what are you working on these days? Because I think you fit this in, and I understand the music came really late, relatively for this film. I heard it came very late. So I was wondering if you're working on projects, or was this like a little side gig you did in between productions, or what? You know, trying to figure out what you were doing because it came so late.
Well, just to be clear, it's not late because of Dan. It was late because of production. So I don't want it to sound like you were late, Dan. But please.
You know, Dan's music. I will second that. Dan's music was amazing, and when it came in,
it was such a gift.
Easy now, Eric.
No, I did it as schedule went along. I mean, but I think probably during that time I was doing I think maybe I was doing Joe Coy's movie that Easter Sunday, possibly around that time. But yeah, right now we've been working on the new Handsome Boy Modeling School record with Prince Paul. Just did a bunch of new songs. I was in the studio with a couple people this week. I was in with Mark Foster this Monday, and I was in with a few other people here and there. But we've been in the middle of that record right now. It should be done early next year, I suppose. You know, it's been an interesting time because of COVID. You know, as far as work goes, there hasn't been an opportunity for a lot of people to get together. So now all of a sudden, I feel like I'm working every day because people are coming out and what can we, you know, everyone took 2.5 years, not off, but without seeing people like normal. So it's just been a really busy time as far as just doing records and music all the time right now. So I guess that's what I'm doing right now.
Knowing that Giant Robot kind of has this punk thing going on, like a little bit of a punk rock vibe, was that kind of hard for you to think about, or was that you're just like, nope, I got that too?
No, I got that. But see, for me, I don't come from a punk rock background, but I like a lot of bands like the Go-Go's and stuff like that, which is upbeat, you know, more thrashy kind of thing. But I think for me, what it was trying to combine, you know, because obviously, you know, we've known each other all our lives since we're cousins and everything. But the whole thing is very complicated when you look at the genesis of Giant Robot being basically a music zine more so in the beginning, to becoming the culture thing / art thing more by the end. You know what I mean? So I wanted to look at this movie and be reverent to the beginning of where it comes from, which is the DIY thing, but also then into the next iterations where it was you know, a lot of not kitschy, but you know, the kid stuff, Asian stuff and whatever, and the more commies and all the the toys and all that stuff. So getting that 8-bit kind of thing going and then going on to the next thing. So I tried to you know, just do it in terms of I'm not afraid of the punk thing. You know, I've career-wise, I've done every type of music except for country probably. So it wasn't really that difficult to imagine what I feel like you and Martin would be you know, running around being militant about music and stuff like that, and you know, and how this all sucks and this and that, and give that energy, that upright energy of of like basically what I would call was like low budget snobs, something like that, and and keep it like keep that in the DIY-ness of Giant Robot, like didn't want to like make it like all lush and strings or anything like that because it just doesn't fit the aesthetic. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So back to the original question, I suppose it's like I always felt like that upbeat, upright thing. It's very it's. I wasn't trying to make a punk record like for this movie, but I was trying to give that the punk energy to it. I guess is what I'm saying.
But looking at those old pictures though, I think we fit the handsome boy thing pretty well, right? Come on.
Give me $60 and I'll let you know.
His score is amazing. You should release it as its own. It was amazing working with the score because it was your voice and like as you say exactly your take, and we would put it in, like we would cut the movie to it and let it work as much as we could to let that sonic scape, and it gave it a dimension. I think in some ways if we only have one punk score in the beginning just sort of for fun in the beginning, but it's not there, and I actually think it was genius because it allows it to be a movie on its own, and like it gives it a sound in a world that's very different than you expect, and I think it gives it emotion in ways that's really surprising. And yeah,
thanks. I mean, I mean, like there's a pretty clear blueprint to what Eric Martin, what the I don't know if it's the right word, the mantra, the setup to like what the whole thing was, and the arc is very it's noticeable in terms of like from the very the stapled up like photocopy vibe record reviews and the hatering of all things to like becoming like, oh, we have something to say and do, so hey, let's push this along, make stores and do all this stuff, which is the next phase to the next phase, and I feel like having been around all of it, it was the logical extensions to head through and look at as the magazine evolved, I guess is the best word,
Mm-hmm.
Wow, awesome. It's fun hearing you explain all that. I'm like, whoa, that's the music genius in you. You know what I mean? That's kind of combining all these ideas and coming up with what it is. I can't. That's your.
It's funny though because I look at Giant Robot like probably differently than other people do, because like you were there like reviewing my early and a bunch of our early records and things like that, and giving us like a little bit of not a leg up but like a little bit of a shine for a minute. And then I think of Giant Robot as a thing where me and you would just go eat and write about it or something. You know what I mean? It went from like when you talked about going to the Epicenter, it was like the Asian version of Epicenter but there was no Asian bands, so it's like all kinds of bands, to like where like we're talking about what we grew up on or food, or like you're talking about Hong Kong movies, at least at the last at the screening, and like all these things that like you start one place and you end up just opening a window to the whole culture. I think
Well said, for sure. Wow.
Remember when we did that one article where we went to like three lunches, I think? That's how I look at Giant Robot, 3 lunches.
Oh, I know, man. We ate a whole ramen, soup dumplings, like right after. And then the third thing, I can't remember, but I was like, this guy's making me eat all this. It was all on one street or something in San Mateo. But
yes,
yeah, that was crazy. I was like, oh, man.
That was my favorite Giant Robot article.
I just remember, I was like, wow, that's a lot of food. But I was like, what? If I'm up for the task, I can do it. So yeah. I put it down. I don't know yeah. Did you eat as much as I did? I don't remember, but
it was a pretty sizable lunch. It was like 3 or 4 hours of eating, I think.
Oh. Awesome. Do you have any questions, Dylan?
God, questions.
I don't know. For anybody here, this is your chance. A chance. There's more chances.
Let me try.
You're good. Or any of you guys have questions for Dylan? This is our.
Dylan, I have a question for Dylan.
Go for it, please do.
Are you hearing from like forgive me if I missed the kind of the chat on the leading up to this, but like, are you hearing from a lot of people that like they want to see more of this? Like, I'm sure that you had to leave so much on the editing room floor. And I'm sure that there's people that you wanted to focus on that you didn't get a chance to. Like, are people like sort of clamoring since this premiered and since
the extended director's edit with
or I don't know. I mean, this is
too hot for PBS.
The first thing I thought when I heard that this was being made was like, this should be like a docuseries. This is something that you could really sink your teeth into.
That was the question. Luke, ask it.
This needs to be a 3-episode series with like the first episode would be the rise, the second episode would be the fall, and the third episode would be the plateau, or where it is now. And it needs to be made.
But also, it needs to be made with actors. So, like Daniel, you could play Martin, for example.
Wait, Dan Automator? You play me, Dan Automator. You got to play me. Okay, that would be odd.
Yeah, that would be amazingly odd. There's one thing though that actually me and Daniel were talking about that was interesting about it to us after watching it. It's like we come from the opposite ends of the giant robot spectrum. Like he was in Asia doing Asian things that you guys shed a light on. I was in America doing American things that you shed a light on for Asian people. So we were approaching it from both different ends. And I feel like that is something worth exploration actually in the future.
That was definitely something for me that like in the film as well, that I thought Giant Robot did so well that we wanted to cover was like, that was a thing. And people talked about Asian American or an Asian, and I felt like Giant Robot came along and just said, I'm into stuff like Giant Robot. And it kind of just wiped that away and was like, we don't care. Like, we like cool shit from Hong Kong, and we like Dan the Automator. Like, and I always really appreciated that about the magazine, how it just sort of like swept the board and just said like in a way, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not where you're from. It's like, are you cool? It's about culture first, and a vibe. And if you look at the doc, if you look at the early magazines, you see there's a moment where they lean on Hong Kong movies first. And we kind of subtly try and make that in the film where you see they get the confidence to show more Asian Americans, like, because you're selling magazines, right? So you got to put somebody in the cover. And so you got, but yeah. And then, so that's like 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, 10, 11, 12 was Jenny Shimizu's that moment, right? Where they suddenly make that shift in the confidence. And I always thought that was really rad, where they kind of pushed it together, but then pushed it out and sort of, you could see that identity forming of like, what is Giant Robot and what does it mean? And so hopefully
then it switched into the art, which is amazing. Like the covers into the art, and then it was covering both Asian and Asian American artists. Like, Luke, what did it mean to you to be on the cover?
It was a dream. I mean, it was one of the things that you see all these like amazing covers, and to like finally have one, like it was a dream.
Awesome. Well, I guess from your perspective as an artist, you mentioned earlier, like we were covering art. How did we do? From your perspective, how did we do?
I mean, like like obviously, like I don't feel like you guys discriminated, with that. It could be like someone like showing in museums, or it could be someone showing like and GR2, and that's a huge like spread of artists with various levels, various degrees
of accomplishment. I think he's really insulting GR2 there.
No, it's okay.
Like, look, GR2 is and has always been like this weird flexible space that showed anything from was like a starter gallery for young emerging artists, to like you got fucking James Jean, originals there. And it's it just kind of goes to show like just like the impact that Giant Robot magazine has had on artists in general. It had introduced me to so many artists that like who have influenced me. And and I, whenever Eric kind of like suggests something, I'm usually game for it, just because like it's Eric Nakamura, it's fucking Giant Robot, so. And
thanks.
Yeah.
That was the funny thing about watching the documentary, because like it's all in the background. I'm like, I have that piece. I have that piece. Like, oh, I have something like that. I have a piece from him. Like a lot of my art taste came from the magazine also. Like it formed my flavor and formed what I liked from all the guys that used to like it.
And what's great is Eric is still like discovering and reintroducing new artists all the time. And like there's like so many artists that Eric has worked with that should have had covers in issues of the magazine that would have come out after mine. And it's unfortunate that like the magazine had to go eventually go, but that's just the that's just how the cookie crumbles.
It was cool seeing a lot of the contemporary artists at GR2 in the chat on the YouTube feed. I thought that was really cool, showing how it's still super relevant what Eric is doing on Sautel and the scene that's still growing, right?
Yeah, for sure, definitely growing. Generations.
Dan, remember? Hey, Dylan. Remember at the IAS concert, that girl?
Yeah.
That was friends with James. She's like
in
her 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
And she kept asking us how we all knew each other, and we said Giant Robot, and there was like a pause, and then she goes, "What's Giant Robot?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like she doesn't know. Like she's a contemporary artist, Asian American artist now, and like she's big in the NFT world and whatever and all that stuff. It's like, oh, she doesn't know where all that came from and where she's standing on the backs of now. It was like kind of this really weird moment for me, going, "Oh, there's the whole generation that doesn't know."
But to be like whatever about it, like where she's hanging out or whatever, she should have known. I'm just what I mean, like she should have known.
No, exactly, and that's what I was thinking. I
mean, it wasn't like it wasn't right up her alley. It wasn't like she wasn't around people who would know. And it's actually, I find that to be, I mean, no offense to her, but that's a little bit disrespectful considering what she does, to not really understand that half of what she does only exists because of Giant Robot.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was very surprised. But a lot of people don't know.
Did you guys put her on time? Did you tell her?
Yeah, we told her to get out.
No, but this is why I'm so happy this documentary exists, is because there's this whole other generation that's going to learn, right?
No, but also like here's the thing, like like Daniel, you've heard of Robert De Niro before, right? Or you know what I'm saying, like. I've heard of James Brown. I mean, like for real, like we're of a state where like for someone like her digging back 5-10 years to Giant Robot when it was in a physical copy is not that much ass, considering like her idols are like James and that stuff anyway. You know what I mean? And like how did they get there? Like how did you get there? How any of us? It's like it's just one of those things that like I'm glad the documentary exists for that, but I also feel like we've reached a generation that like is a bit disenfranchised from a lot of information or a lot of.
Well, I don't totally blame her either, because we're in this era now where there's so much information and it's like flashing before you so quickly that you don't even know history anymore, right? And so it was just showing me this is a sign of the times, really. I don't blame her at all for not knowing. Right?
I get what you're saying.
I said I'm glad that this documentary exists so that she can go now and go. Okay,
no, I agree.
Right.
I agree with all that, but like also it's like for like for example for you or I, music or acting, Giant Robot is a great place to learn about some things we might not know about. But like what I always thought was the most interesting genesis and extension was how Eric brought so much of the modern contemporary artists into the scene, and like how like so much of like we learned from all those, like. I mean, like all those people I know from Eric, you know what I mean? Like so many of them, you know what I mean? And like, I'm like, wherever I'm sitting in Japan with like Murakami or something, I'm like Eric, you know what I mean? It's like Eric,
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. Awesome.
You're the hub.
All right. So it's like we've been going for over an hour, so I was going to wrap it up. I don't know if there's any last things you guys want to say or want to do.
Bigger documentary. That's all I want. A bigger documentary.
Well, you have a producer and a director here, at least two.
Who here wants to see a bigger documentary?
You guys did a great job.
Adam, Dan, Martin, Daniel, Claudia, bigger documentary?
Yes.
I think the one that Dylan and Nick made is awesome. And,
Great.
you know, brevity, there's definitely something to keeping things.
And Eric, you should get your eBay store up so you can sell all your magazines and announce it now.
Actually, there's some like, you know,
piece.
yeah, there's some crazy stuff on there.
I have one story that I can tell that just happened recently. Last week, I interviewed the writer Hua Shu. Do you guys know him?
Yeah.
So he's a staff writer at the New
Sure.
Yorker. He's a professor at Bard, and he just wrote this book, Stay True, which is incredible. Highly recommend everyone go read it or listen to the audio version because he narrates it. And so I interviewed him last week, and we were trying to figure out how we knew each other because we're Facebook friends somehow, but we couldn't figure out like what our origin story was. And I haven't spoken to him probably like since, you know, we became Facebook friends. And he's like, well, I remember seeing your byline in Giant Robot all the time. And I was like, oh, did you write for Giant Robot too? And he's like, no, I never got the guts to pitch Giant Robot. Like, it was just so huge to me. And I'm like, that's so crazy to hear that you started pitching the New Yorker, but like we're too freaked out to pitch, you know, Eric and Martin at Giant Robot, where like I wrote about lactose intolerance in Asians. And he's like, and I'm like, why? Like, what was it that was so intimidating, or why was it easier for you to write for the New Yorker? And he said, well, Giant Robot was like really like personal to me. Like it felt like, I hope I'm not misrepresenting Hua, but that like it was just something that he loved so much that it felt riskier to put himself out there for that versus the New Yorker, where like, you know, it's not something he grew up with or his family like necessarily subscribed to as he grew up. And so it just felt like, you know, safer.
Wow. Do you remember him, Martin? I don't know if you remember him well at all.
We met him at a college talk, didn't we?
UC Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
You remember him, yeah? And he said,
"Of course I do. Of course I do."
Thrilling to hang out with you guys. Like when he was in college, he's like that was like, you know, the most thrilling, some of the most thrilling.
You know,
time.
Eric and I, we did a lot of college talks, like all over the country. We got flown out to speak to like Asian American groups, like all the time, and that was like really weird that would happen because we were so non-academic in our writing, and we never you know, and I felt like we mixed up high and low and old and new in a really interesting way. But it was cool, you know, getting paid by I don't know, these universities to have us talk, and like they were so stoked. Like it meant a lot to them. I felt like, and we would hang out with them all night and play Scrabble, and they'd take us to like the one noodle place in town or whatever. And yeah, those were fun, huh, Eric?
Yeah, those were great.
You were speaking to the Asian American clubs then, right? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, we also did one to like the design school, right, at Harvard, the Graduate School of Design. We did that one once.
Twice. I think twice, maybe. I don't know. Harvard GSD, yeah, twice
Right.
there. But
Yeah,
there are a lot of
Wendy's mom still wears the Harvard sweatshirt I brought back for her.
Yeah.
Did the three of you go?
No. Oh, did Wendy go to that one? She would come along on some trips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just remember meeting you guys in Cambridge and eating at a Tunisian restaurant. That was amazing. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, they had like rose water or something, right? Was that they were famous for? Yeah, that was so fun. That's, you know, that's one of the things I love about like this Linda Lindis thing is that I get to travel a little more now. And like I see all these people that I knew from Giant Robot. Like I went to Minnesota and like they played at First Street, and and Jotron, I put him on the list. You know, this guy from the Giant Robot Lounge. And like, you know, in New York, I'm gonna get Claudine next time. And yeah, I love just seeing all these old friends from, and this, I feel like this film too, right? When we went to the preview screening at Janum last Friday, so many friends that I haven't seen in a long time. So thanks Dylan and Nick for getting us back in touch, because we all moved on, you know, we all thought it was awesome, but then we moved on with our lives, and to come back feels really good. Like I don't care about my high school reunion, but but yeah, this was really cool.
That was a good night. It was a fun night.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question for Dylan, actually. I think you just finished it like what, that morning?
Yeah.
Like when did Like, did you ever freak out and think it wasn't going to happen? Like, did you ever have any doubt, in this project?
I mean, Nick was there too. He pulled an all-nighter with me. So it was like that, and it was like a true college all-nighter where we were coloring. Like there was a point in the evening where like half of it was mixed and half of it was colored. I thought it was going to I always knew it was going to get done. It was just a question of like, how good would it do it? And I feel like the last like 3-4 weeks, and my wife really, like, to her credit, was like, you go full gas, you make this, is like, you push it. Like, that's why the Lindas and the Yayas are in there. Cause it's just like, okay, let's get it in there. Let's cut. I'll spend another all-nighter, like cutting that in, like I just had magazines. My living room was covered with every issue of Giant Robot. And like up until the last second, I would be like cutting extra issues in, and Barry as well. Everybody worked, like Lynn from the whole post team, like finished. Nick really came through. So
I think it was the morning after the AAS show, Nick posted on Facebook, "Hey, who has footage of when Karen said this?" And Wendy is like, "Who's this Nick guy? How do I know him? Why is he in my feed?"
I know.
He's producing the documentary.
Well, we were going to ask you to like film it. We were like, we'll be done. Like, we'll be done way before then. And then we just like, it kept getting later and later, and we were just getting right up to the deadline. And then I'm like, oh wait, we're still editing. All right, it's going in, and I feel bad, but I was like, yes, no, we got to do it, so. And I'm glad
what couldn't get in just because it was too recent was Anime Wong being on the quarter. And that had just happened. Like there was no way that our legal team could spin that around and us find, I don't know, footage that's licensed to use, like safe, right? But that had just happened, and you can just see how far, the argument I would make with this story is how far we've come as, in the American culture scene, not just pop culture, but everything. And it's like Anime Wong being on US currency, that it doesn't get more stamped than that. But we got the Lindas in there at the Hollywood Bowl, and that's what really matters. So,
thank you guys for I'm literally staring. Nick and I are staring at the people who helped make it happen. So thank you guys for all sharing your stories, because we're amazing. Martin, we spent all day in your living room.
Okay, so you came to the living room. You went to the Circle Jerks concert with us. We went to Little Tokyo record shopping, and we walked over to Traction Street where the loft used to be, across from Crazy Gideon's. And then Eric's house, like you cleaned out the garage. That's like the most impressive thing, that you carved out that path to the back room and made it look so beautiful. That was like, I never dreamed it could look like that. That was really cool.
Like, were you stealing yourself from when we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna film it like The Office, that it would look cool?
No, I thought I was gonna play catch with Eric in the backyard. I brought my softball mitt.
I know.
I was like ready to hang out there, but it was full of stuff. Yeah.
I know, we were bummed. We actually left stuff out there all, and I feel bad. That was like a marathon session. Yeah. And then I know.
I think the old office was like I saw it like a tomb. You know what I mean? Like it's just like the door's shut and I don't go in there type of thing. I might go in there to store stuff or grab something really quick, but I spend no time in there. And it was like that since the office was closed, kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like when the magazine was done, it just became more and more stuff. It was just storage. So in that way, it's like a tomb, literally, like except no dead person, I don't think. But it was, you know what I mean? It was just like stuff, years and years and years of stuff. So like there's receipts from 2007 in there still. You know what I mean? From like it's still there.
It was all good. I mean, Dan filming Dan the Automator, like with Miwa, who we know from my son went to, that was fun. That was in a tiny record store. And then she was hanging out in the check cashing, like where you go buy the records. And she was flipping through the magazines because we had them on standby. And then we're like, oh, Miwa, no, yeah, she wrote. So yeah, we turned the camera around and got you guys both on that. That was super fun.
Oh, she couldn't. I was trying to get Miwa to join today, and Jenny Shimizu and Margaret and Chueh, and they couldn't. All three of them couldn't make it. I was trying to get them all in.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately. But anyways, shoot, man, I guess we should just cut it now. We've gone for about over an hour and 15 at least. So just want to say thank you, man. I appreciate everything. Both Nick and Dylan and everybody who's involved. You know,
shout out to everyone. Seriously.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks to
I had nothing to do with the making of this film, and I just again, you guys have invited me to this very cool thing, and I totally appreciate you for it. I'm just here as a fan. I'm just here as a fan. I'm like, I'm standing in here.
I don't know, man. Part of it is, I mean, it's kind of this Asian or Asian American magazine, but Jawbreaker for some reason fits into Giant Robots no matter what, right? It's kind of important to me anyway that I always feel like it's the indie band, an indie band that has music that for me is like spiritual. Like, when I listen to it, I think it's like there can be depressing songs, but then there's always some hope in a lot of them. And I don't know, part of that is to me very Giant Robot. So, that's why you're here too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not going to end it. We're not going to end it on this. This is
part of the lore, but it's part of the lore. It's all good.
We put a Jawbreaker sticker, I think, in the store scene. If you look, there's a Jawbreaker sticker, and I think David, our DP, was a huge fan, and we were like, "Oh yeah, it's got to be Jawbreaker has to be represented as part of the story." That's the thing, is so much of it just you couldn't get it all in. 10,000 pages, all the people you've met. So you just find these really weird ways where you're like, maybe that'll be the meaningful way we can get it in quickly.
Love it.
Yeah. I like how there was one spread talking about like all the cool Asian people, and then like Blake is in that spread. From when he interviewed him when he was with like Jets at the Troubadour or something. And like there he is.
Influential Asian Blake. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, honorary. Him and Adam. Yeah, you guys are all Chris, you're all honorary. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wait, but before we leave, Eric, okay, so you talked about going back to the pain of putting the magazine together. Like, what is there anything that you miss about the magazine, particularly about doing the magazine that you think, yeah, that was really that was
tons of things. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
What's the thing that really what's the thing that you miss the most?
It's working with everybody. It's the process, and you know what I mean? It's sometimes not even the final magazine. It's actually the process of making it.
Sure.
The late nights and the working, the talking about what we're doing, and it's just the coming together of a bunch of ideas, and working with Martin, Wendy, the team, everybody. I think that's part of it, right? It's the process. It's not even the final. It's not even the final,
Yeah, we were just so stoked about everything, right? Art, music, movies, toys, books, comics, food. We were just stoked.
It's our life. It's kind of like life, or it was life. It was life documented in print. So it wasn't quite like this thing where it's like, oh, I got to write this article, this thing I don't care about. No, it was like everything was this experience and this process, and the end result was one issue of a magazine, and then it's always off to the next one the next day, right? So it wasn't really, the magazines are a byproduct almost of life. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it. The magazine just happened to be there, but we were out doing all this fun stuff, and that's kind of a good way.
It's a document, totally.
Yeah, and we're still into all that stuff. Like, we still do all those things, right? Go to book release things and art shows and cool movies and see bands, but we just don't make a magazine. That's all. But we're still into all that stuff, and we still do it. We're out there all the time and have friends that do all this rad stuff and write and record music and make art, and that has not changed.
That was why we couldn't do a lame documentary. I was like, I cannot make a lame documentary about people who do the coolest stuff. And
it's not like we did that for 16 years and then stopped and then got, I don't know, whatever, like some other square job or something, because that was just us,
I have to say, though, I miss writing. Like, I stopped writing after the magazine ended. Like, that was the thing that made me write. And I remember, because I went to like a private high school where the English professor was this Yale PhD guy that made us write like a white intellectual. And I hated it, right? And so to write in my own voice for that long was amazing. And then when I stopped, it was like, oh shit, I totally missed that. And I still haven't really written since then.
Yeah.
That's a loss,
Same.
Daniel. You should. Yeah, I mean, you should.
Yeah, no, I think about it all the time. I was like, God,
Yeah.
I should do it, but I just have no outlet for it right now. It's like there's no outlet for it. So,
But I think you're still on your on a journey of some sort, right? You're still on a journey, so maybe when you have time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cherish those days, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Would they actually like pester you for articles, or would you like pitch articles to them?
It was like once I got into the inner circle, I remember that day when I was in the inner circle of the magazine, and I was like, oh, dude, I'm in an inner circle because, I was a fan, right? This issue, I saw it in like I was studying architecture and I was working for this architect, and I went by this magazine store as I was doing measurements for this one building. And I saw it in the window, and there's something in me goes, it's funny that they say there's a magazine for you. I looked at it, I go, something about that is for me. And I went in there, I picked it up, and I went, what the fuck? It's Asian American. And then I wrote to Martin, and I wrote to the magazine, and I'm like, I want to write for you guys. You guys write about martial arts. I know about martial arts, right? And then we started to know each other. And then the first article I wrote was the 2 weeks after I arrived in Hong Kong. And I was not an actor then. I was just this kid that arrived in Hong Kong on a summer vacation, right? And then I grew, and the magazine grew, and we all grew like parallel together, right? And so that was like really a cool thing. And so, what was the question again? Sorry.
No, you're kind of. I guess you're kind of answering. It was like, did you pitch articles to them? Did they pitch?
Okay, yeah. So what I really enjoyed was like me and Martin Martin was my point man. I didn't get to know Eric till a little bit later, and so I would go like, I'm doing this and this and this, and Martin would go, okay, write about that. So he was like a true editor. I was like, oh, I'm doing these things and this. And he's like, oh, go interview Sam Lee. Right. And I'd go do interview Sam Lee. And it was like that thing. And then after a while, I'd come up with my own ideas, and then he'd vet them and then go for this one. And then it was cool. It was a really cool relationship.
Yeah. But even before that, I remember I was in New York at the same time as you. And you're like, hey, we got to go see the Tokyo Shock Boys. These guys that like super glue their nuts and put firecrackers up their butts.
Before Jackass, right?
Yeah. So we went to that together, and there was an article. And then there was another time I was in San Francisco and you were there, and we went to the Bruce Lee Museum together, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that became an article. So I would just hang out with him and like make articles like before. I think that was all before you were writing pieces even. So.
I think the Bruce Lee Museum, I think I'd already been doing it. But definitely Tokyo Shock Boys and that whole trip was the first time I met you in person. I still didn't write for you yet. I still didn't get into the inner circle yet.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it's not going out and writing articles to write articles. It was just life. That's just what we did. Everything we did was an article almost.
Yeah.
So hanging out means doing something that's going to be an article, kind of.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. So I know Claudine's got to go to sleep. She's on the East Coast.
No, she has a deadline to meet.
It's hella late, as they say. But anyways, dude, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I guess this is just the start. That's what I got to say. It's just the start.
Repeats Friday, PBS SoCal, 8 p.m.
There you go.
It's available on all our websites, kcet.org, pbssocal.org, and pbs.org. It is also available on the PBS Passport app on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll do this again soon, hopefully.
Thank you,
but thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for everybody. Thanks for everyone who's watching.
Together, Eric. Thanks, Dylan.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you so
Later,
much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Adam.
Bye. Thank you.